And a warm welcome back to day 2 of glorious Goodwood here on Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange. What a headline. I like to do this always for you at the top of the show. Simply glorious. It is that. Myself, Dave Orton, delighted to be back with you for an afternoon of fun and frolics. We don't have any clue what could go on the show. We are literally hostage to fortune to what happens on the track. But we know that's why you like to have us back each and every big festival. We promise you Goodwood. Yesterday, it was stunning stuff. Get your comments in, your social comments in. We like to hear from you exactly how you're doing it. It's hashtag RP Live. You can do so on the Facebook chat. We read it all. We like to see how you're getting on. Let us know how your punting day 1 went. What are your big shouts for the day ahead as well? A different person in the studio every day. Welcoming back Ross Brierley, Yorkshire's finest, with a haircut.
I know. Finally got there.
A lockdown haircut.
Yeah, or just half of one. He's left.
I was going to say,
he's not done a lot on the top.
Did he do a runner?
I just said, look, I haven't been out of the house apart from to come here for months. So can you've got 10 minutes? So he did the back and sides. And that's as far as he got. But I think it looks all right.
It does. It really doesn't look that much different to me, old boy. I have to say that.
No, that's fair. It's
good to have you back. Shall we start off with the top of the show? Your big play today is a lay, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I thought you were going to bring up the emotion thing again, though. I thought you were going to say,
or lack of it.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of emotion if the lay wins. Put it that way.
I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute corker of a race, the Sussex
315
this year. I think it's an absolute blinder, and I just think Siskin's underpriced. I just think he's underpriced.
Well, we'll get to that. We will get to this. So the place lay, isn't it? Not just a lay.
Well,
this is an all-in Ross Brierley special.
Get him out the frame. Colin Keane is gonna be self-isolating, watching a replay back of being boxed in on the rail. I can see it now.
I'm all over Siskin, that's for sure. Now he's come out to the right sort of price. Neil Hubbard joins us back. Day 1 was superb, Neil, from Betfair, and you're going to be giving all the tricks of the trade. You're going to be telling us where your plays are going for each race. The 145 is a staying race. Neil, you're staying with us all week. It's great to have you back. How was the hotel last night? Was it nice and serene for you, or have you had a bit of a bum steer?
No, it was all okay. There was a choice of 2 hotels. I went to the wrong one, but I eventually found the one which I was meant to be in. But
there are only 2 hotels in London.
There's 2 hotels called with exactly the same name on opposite sides of the street. So
first winner of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're there for the rest of the week.
I'm there for the rest of the week.
Oh,
so
this is where it's all happening, though, isn't it? Yeah, so come on, this is where it's all happening. We have had one race already, the 110. We're doing the terrestrial races for you each and every day. It was a mile 2 handicap, guys, wasn't it? Fillies handicap again that opened the day. It was 5 seconds, just over 5 seconds slow. Now, it's good all over, drying as the week goes on. Good all over the track. There was a little bit of good soft in it yesterday. We saw that in the race times. They dawdled in that first race, Ross, didn't they? One from the front for Rafe Beckett.
Yeah, it was an absolute crawl. Shamard won it, admittedly not out of turn.
No. Bruce Millington, I was with him this morning, show stalwart. He was absolutely all over it.
That Franconia form, the first and second have both come out and won in black type company next time out. And then the 2 behind Shamard both came out and finished second in good races. So the form was rock solid. But yeah, they went an absolute dawdle. And the horses like Waleak, who'd come off the back of a strong pace at Ascot and rattled home, was having to make her own grinding way down the centre of the track. So it was a great ride on a nicely bred and in-form horse. But yeah, it doesn't tell you much about the state of the ground given how slow they went.
No, it doesn't. But we are expecting these to get a little bit more lively as we go on. We're building up to the Group 1 of the day. Race of the season, race of the year so far, many are saying, which when you think about Royal Ascot and the eclipse that we had with Gayeth against Enable and Japan in there, or some sizzlers we have had, just about every horse has a chance. Neil Hubbard, let's keep on the Siskin vibe before we move on to the 2 mile 4 handicap we're about to cover. You're against him as well.
I'm against him. I'll be laying him. I won't, not in the place market, but in the win market. Nothing against him as a horse at all, really. Can he win? Of course he can. But I'm with Ross in terms of it's all about price. And I just think at around the 9 to 4 mark, which he's currently trading at, is short enough for me. Would I be surprised if he won? Not at all, because he's unbeaten. Irish Guineas winner, all well and good. I just think this is a really hot race. Race of the year, race of the season. And I'd sooner have the field on my side.
8 horses have come from the Irish Guineas and tried. 4 have won. 50% strike rate. It's about to get enhanced, boys, at 3:15.
I've just realised inadvertently, though, I am laying Siskin, but I have got a green T-shirt under here.
A little bit of pink. You're
basically
basically
Abdullah Silks, haven't I, essentially? So
you're auditioning for the job. Is there a jockey at the moment, Khalid Abdullah? There isn't, is there? We've had plenty over the years, haven't we? Richard Hughes. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. No, there isn't, is there? I don't think.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I said, look, if Colin doesn't get the fractions right today, I'm available. I'll have to lose 3, maybe 4 stone, but I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah, you've got more chance of that than me, I think. So let's carry on then. Well, let's look at our very first race here for you on RP Live. I think we've got a social comment coming in, actually. Nice and early. Get them in. We'll give you a shout out. Daryl Gerard. Good to have you, Daryl, on. Oleg and Toro Strike double for me today. Toro Strike's my nap of the day. In the last race, we'll be off air by then. But Oleg, Neil, let's go to you, Neil Hubbard. This has been the gamble of the race in the 145.
Yeah, and he's near in favouritism now. There's every chance we're probably going to have joint favourites here. So True Destiny heads the market at 5.7 at the minute, but Oleg is into 5.8 and is pushing very hard for favouritism. Last night, Oleg was as big as 9, which is 8-1 in fractional odds. But yeah, he's burst to the head of the market, really. So it's between him and True Destiny as to who will go off favourite. Then you've got Smart Champion 8.6, who is another for money. He's been tipped up by, I think, Paul Keeley and Pricewise in the Racing Post today, so plenty of support for him. And then a couple of Johnson runners, Summer Moon 8.4, Rochester House 9.2. But yeah, the market is speaking very favourably about Paul Nicholls' runner here, Oleg, who is on the hat-trick.
Before we go into dissecting the form then and having a really good look at this race and seeing who we like, myself and Ross, where are you playing, Neil? Because everyone likes to react to what you're doing, and show us on the exchange, please.
Yeah, I'm going to be back in Smart Champion here. So he started his season pretty well with his 4th place finish at Royal Ascot, and then for me just found the Northumberland Plate coming a little bit too quick for him, and he wasn't ideally positioned in that race. So we're going to back Smart Champion, both win and place here. So he's currently 9.6 on the exchange. So if you hover over that, you can see that's 17-2 in fractions. So we'll add that to the bet slip and we'll have £25 win on him at 9.6. We'll confirm that bet there. That's just unmatched at the minute because the market just moved, but we'll leave that there for the time being, and then we'll head across to the place market. So in this race, you can back 3 places, 4 places, or 5 places, so plenty of choice. This does look a competitive race for me, so I'm going to be a little bit conservative and play in the 5 places market, where he's currently 2.8, and we'll have, or 2.6 now, the price has just moved, and we'll have £25 win on him there. So in effect, we've placed an each way bet on him there, but done it in the win and place markets.
So you're keen on Smart Champion for Callum Shepherd, having a really good season, isn't he? I think Ban won in at Yarmouth last night. Callum is having a good play. And Dave Simcott's horse. I guess you're thinking that it came too soon for him at Newcastle in the Northumberland Plate. That was Dave's comment, wasn't it, this morning in the paper?
Yeah, and he just wasn't ideally positioned in that race. He was sort of held up out the back, and everybody that and every runner that was sort of in the mix in that race was positioned a lot more prominent in the race. So I'm quite happy just to forgive. I mean, we were talking about it yesterday about forgiving a horse a run, and he falls into this category. So I'd be optimistic that he can finish, in the first 5, and hopefully he can get his head in front.
Yeah, it was an eye-catcher in the Ascot Stakes at Royal Ascot. Coeur d'Alene, who won that race. Thought Hammer Hansen, the best named jockey anywhere riding in the world, reopposes. A bit surprising, Ross, that he's bigger in the market, or have you gone on one to reverse that form as well?
Well, unfortunately, this is the thing. I feel like I can't tell if Neil's done his study and sent it to me, or if it's worked the other way around, but I feel like we're copying each other's homework a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought Smart Champion was a really interesting horse. The only downside I have with him is that because there are no stalls for this race, sometimes you can get spread out all around the downs at Goodwood. And I mean, we saw in that first race, I'm just a bit worried about him being too far back, because this race traditionally, Lil Rockefeller made all a couple of seasons ago.
Yes.
You want to be mid-pack.
Sylvester D'Souza bang out, didn't he? Just couldn't catch.
Yeah.
I mean, he was ridiculously well handicapped.
He was.
It's only the last 2 years that they've not had starting stalls for this. 7 of the last winners have gone to jumps trainers. Ian Williams, you could call him a dual-purpose trainer, of course. But so Oleg sort of fits that stat, shouldn't he? In fact, of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry about that, looking at my screen, but just Nicholls there. I suppose Alan King, Coeur d'Alene as well. So, yeah, okay. So if you've jumped a twig, then you've got a great chance, haven't you?
Well, this is exactly what we said at the Ascot Stakes, isn't it? We said that race often goes to
Willie Mullins.
Yeah, but because they didn't have any Irish Raiders, we said, oh, there's only a couple of jumps trainers in here, and Alan King won it.
Yeah.
So this is a very similar vibe. There's usually a few more who challenge. I mean,
Why
Nicky
not Coeur de
Henderson.
Lion then? Why not Coeur de Lion? He's only up £3 for
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
He'll
well.
sit handy, Neil, won't he? I mean,
Yeah, he's up £3. Of course, his jockey's claim is down to 3 from 5, so you can factor in another couple of pounds there if you wanted. Absolutely no reason why he can't go close. And at the prices, like he's 14.5 on the exchange at the minute, so just bigger than 13 to 1. You couldn't put anybody off fancying a little bit of that.
yeah, it's not often that these stayers from these marathon races do follow up, do they? So that's something that you don't often see. We tend to jump off them. I like a horse that's been here and done it. Not quite actually got his head over the line, but sensational for me. William Knight, who is, let me just remind myself, so basically he's run here 5 times at Goodwood. He's never been out of the frame. And he was a next second off this mark to Timoshenko last year on ground that he wouldn't have really liked. Forget the run last time. It was on ground he absolutely hated. Tom Segal of the Racing Post, price-wise, of course, one of the best tipsters in history. He's also gone for it as well. Myself and Bruce Millington were talking this morning. Bruce has already knocked in a 22-1 shot. He goes for that as well. Lots to like, I think, about this chap.
And our mutual friend, Mr. Andy Holding, as well, who I respect greatly, he's also gone for him. So it's getting to the point where everyone's on his back, which is understandable. He ran a blinder last year behind Timoshenko.
He did. And like I say, the comeback was fine. Forget the last run. Luke Morris on. He'll be giving it absolutely everything. Around about 18 to 1, Neil, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, 19.5, pretty solid at that price. And he actually hit odds on last year. 1.4 he hit in running last year.
True Destiny was ahead of him. In the market, he's ahead of him, I should say, quite some way ahead of him, but was behind him last year. But True Destiny's come back in good style, I think. Yeah. It's one of these races, chaps, isn't it, where you could have 6, and if you didn't hit the barn door, you wouldn't be that surprised, would you?
I mean, and like I said, there's plenty of interesting angles. I mean, just thinking of Oleg now, Timoshenko, Midland Park. Past few years have had interesting horses like this. Remember when Junior absolutely romped up as well in a similar event.
For the pipes.
So. As I said, I wonder if Oleg will be ridden a bit more prominently, a bit like Timoshenko was last year. And I think the thing that we were talking about as well, that for giving a horse a bad run, but the horses we've gone for, Smart Champion and Sensational, I don't think you even need to forgive their run, because that Haydock race was a really, really strong event. I know it was soft ground, but there was a lot of good horses in there. That form has already been given a bit of a boost. Yeah. And the Northumberland Plate was an absolute cracker this year.
Yeah.
He was 25 to 1. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. What I'm saying is, if you're looking at the 8th in his form figures and thinking, why is he regressing that first run? It's a red herring.
This is clearly his target, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting horse in here as well for Ian Williams. So I mentioned won this race before. He's got 2 in here. He's got Blue Laureate, who didn't fire at Ascot but was good 10 days ago behind True Destiny, and Rochester House. He split those 2. Rochester House got some love. Keith Mellor is in the paper today. Our betting editor, he gives him some love. He's also, though, got the Grand Vizier in here, who you remember beat Build Me Up Buttercup now in the Ascot Stakes last year. Why is he a price?
Yeah, I mean, you have to give him a proper chance in this. He was second behind Who Dares Wins at Royal Ascot in a race that probably wouldn't have been run to suit. They went a bit for a crawl, didn't they? And it didn't really suit him. So back in a more, let's say, conventional race, big field handicap, you have to give him a squeak. And the next one in the weight, Summer Moon as well. I think he's another one that you can speak positively.
Was he originally favourite for this, guys? I think it was put in paper favourite, wasn't it? It's that run in the Cesaro, which is a 3-year-old, Mark Johnson's horse, which really stood him apart, I think. But again, will he get the freebie up front? Sylvester's going to be on his mark, I think, with Rochester House. Let's talk about pace. They're just ambling down at the start, which is what I like to say. So what we're around about, they're slightly behind. So about 2 or 3 minutes to get your bets on if you're having a play in this, following Neil, myself or Ross. Yes, so Rochester House, Summer Moon. Who's going to take each other on up front, or is Summer Moon going to get that freebie?
I mean, there's not loads of obvious pace. Have you got? I'm sure Mr.
Summer Moon I'd have.
I've got a map in front of me, a pace map. Merca Magic, I thought, was possible, who was behind the Grand Vizier, but it does look like Summer Moon, doesn't it? Maybe Harbour Front, the bottom weight, down the bottom, first time cheap pieces. Kieran O'Neill off the mark yesterday with a great ride in the sprint. That was on, of course, only spoofing, wasn't it, you rode?
Yeah, the 2 you mentioned there, Merca Magic and Summer Moon, were the 2 obvious ones I suggest for them to go forward. And based on the first TV race yesterday with Mark Johnson, we might get a bit of a repeat here from the front.
The flag is up. I'm calling most of the races today. In fact, that looks like a shambolic start. Oh, dear. Sylvester de Souza. I think we know who's going to try and steal a march. He's trying to do a little Rockefeller all over again. There's a full start. It's a jumps race. We're at Cheltenham. Unbelievable. Chat amongst yourselves while I get ready to call this with you boys.
Well, True Destiny's clear favourite now. True Destiny's clear favourite.
This time he's let him go. A bit of a ragged start, but indeed Sylvester de Sousa does get his own way out in front. As mentioned, Harbour Front, he's right up there as well. Merca Magic taking a nice prominent pace. Summer Moon a little bit keen, just in behind his stablemate. Sensational, placed in the race last year, just touched off. Tad Keeney's in fourth. Who's that on the outside? Looks like Cliffs of Dunoon for Rafe Beckett. Rafe Beckett's had a couple of races that's been placed. Caught wide, Oleg Neil Hubbard. Has the market reacted to the first couple of furlongs, or is everyone just going to sit back, go to the bar, have a beer, and come back for the final 2 furlongs?
It looks more like the latter there, Dave. True Destiny is the favourite, but Rochester House is into 9-2. So that front-running role, the market has spoken very favourably about his chance.
Ross?
I don't like our smart champion position right now. I mean, we're worried about him being too far back, but so far you've got two hard-pulling Johnston horses settled or trying to settle on the lead. So there's clearly not much of a gallop. De Sousa rode them to sleep on May Danny yesterday. Farmark Johnston from the front. Bit easier over that trip, but still he seems to have a nice positive.
Pretty much joint favourites now, Rochester House and Summer Moon.
What about Smart Champion then? Ross mentioned it's stinking his position at the moment. Has he gone right out, Neil, in the market?
No, not at all. Like we backed. I put the back bet up at 9.6 and he's 9.8. So there's not. Well, he's a little bit bigger now. He's just jumped to 12. But
as soon as we've said he's in a poor position,
should say that Merca Magic was withdrawn on veterinary advice, so that must have been It's a Freebie that I saw. It actually ran quite well at Royal Ascot for Richard Spencer. Just looking for some of the other big players at the moment. Just Hubert's out the back. Rochester House still getting his own way. I'm trying desperately to find.
Yeah, he's favourite now.
There's Oleg the Grey, of course. And have a look down Stonifix there. I'll tell you who's got quite a nice run at the moment, Ross Brierley. Don't know how you feel about him in running. Author's Dream, the other William Knight horse.
Yeah, there's a few that have got nice positions, isn't the Author's Dream's one of them. He's sat, where is he? Oh, he's just on the outside, isn't he? Yeah,
he's in fourth.
In theory, he's going a bit wide, but again, the last thing you want to do is turn into the home straight and be stuck down the rail, especially off a slow gallop. I mean, yours is a bit keen, Dave. Sensational, but
yeah, he does take a little bit to settle, but we know he stays all day.
I mean,
I'd say Sylvester's ramped it up a little bit now, hasn't he? Let's get back to the action then. Rochester House by 2 lengths to Summer Moon, who's definitely pulling for his absolute head. Johnson 1-2, as Tony Ennis was saying.
3-1 Rochester House. 3-1.
What price, Neil?
3-1 Rochester.
Oh, okay. So are you with us, Sylvester de Sousa? He did this on Little Rockefeller 2 years ago. He was not for catching. This horse has got some very good form. Harbour Front still there. I would not be liking Summer Moon if I was on him. The Grand Vizier catching my eye, Ross, in mid-pack.
Yeah, the Grand Vizier making a move. I mean, you said about Harbour Front, he's not in a bad position, really, for the Brisland team. Fairly unexposed in the grand scheme of things.
He's out the handicap, isn't he? Okay.
And remember, these Silks had a Ledger winner with a strong stayer a couple of seasons ago, so they do like an unexposed staying type.
Just looking for the Royal Ascot winner. That's Coeur de Lion. He's been ridden really cold by Thor Hammer Hansen.
He's just coming off the bit now.
We're starting to get a little bit business-endy now, chaps. Oleg keeping closer. True Destiny starting to make a move from off the pace with Jason Watson on, but nothing taking on Sylvester and Rochester House yet. We're approaching the lower bend into the home straight. Neil Hubbard, tell us about the market.
Yeah, 3.9. So Rochester House 3-1, then True Destiny second favourite, but Rochester House 2-1. He just hit then briefly.
Wow, Sensational is still pulling for his head. What will we find? Here comes the Grand Vizier making a move. Look at the Smart Champion. My goodness, Callum Shepherd taking the Jamie Spencer. Ross Brierley in absolute despair. We're going into the home straight.
Well, they're going no pace, and he's managed to lose a position. And on the upside, he's at least going to challenge down the middle. In theory,
we're concertinaing, lads. We're concertinaing. Just before I get to the 3 furlong pole, Neil Hubbard, last update.
Yeah, 2-1 Rochester House, clear favourite.
Well, Coeur de Lion's got to have a big say. He's going to launch him. Oleg now coming off the bridle. They fan across the track with 3 furlongs to go. This is where stamina comes into it. Sensational looking for him, looking for a run. Who's this coming with him on? The Grand Vizier, keep looking at him. True Destiny launching. Here comes Smart Champion for you, boys. Ross Brierley's gone quiet. The face has gone non-emotional. That means he must have a chance.
2-on Rochester House.
He's got a hell of a lot to do, though.
Here comes Smart Champion sweeping down the outside. Rochester House still going. Sylvester giving it everything. Sensational, not found. Author's Dream. Who's this coming through? Just Hubert. Here comes Grand Vizier. But come on, boys. Call it for me. Final furlong.
Just Hubert coming through. Just
Hubert for Willie Muir and Tom Marquand. Is he going to get up? Rochester House is absolutely paddling. It looks like it's going to be one for Willie. Oh, my goodness. It's a really tight finish. Just Hubert denies Rochester House a blanket for the place. It's Smart Champion. Did he get that a little bit too soon? Drama in the first here on RP Live.
Well, you know what race he ran in as well? The Northumberland Plate.
And he was heavily beaten. Where was he? Well beaten, wasn't he? And he came out last time. Was that behind True Destiny then? So, do you know what? It's one of these horses that punters are just going to be scratching their heads as to how he's done this. He's got, I mean, it's only 13 runs he's had on the flat. He's now 5 from 14 basically. Willie Muir, he's having a pretty good summer, isn't he?
He is very much so. Yeah, his horses are in good nick. He had a nice winner the other day at Newmarket, Data Protection. Molinari ran an absolute stormer at the weekend. I mean, I can't help.
Good Royal Ascot, didn't he?
He did, had a very good Royal Ascot, yeah. Obviously, Pile Drive has really been leading the way. I mean, the seconds had the run of the race. It's a big run from Just Hubert. I can't help but feel if Smart Champion just a little bit closer, Neil. A little bit closer.
I don't know about that, lads. I think Callum Shepherd has been... They ride this horse cold.
Yeah, they do.
Some serious pocket talking going on from Ross Brierley.
No, absolutely.
He got third, didn't he?
He got third, beating
Pocket is giving it the large at the moment.
Look where he is from Just Hubert here. He's
had absolutely every chance. I'm not having that. Author's Dream was involved in the places as well. Let's have a look. Grumver's here a little bit tight. We can see on our screen here. 5 have gone past pretty much together. Neil Hubbard, while Ross Brierley collects himself, as he's going to need to. The pocket's going to have to be put back in its place. What was the story of the market?
Yeah, plenty going on here, actually. So Rochester House hit a low of 1.16 in running. Just Herbert, the winner, 330. In running. So an absolutely massive price winner there. Summer Moon hit a low of 3.4.
Too keen, wasn't he?
And Author's Dream hit a low of 5. He's actually run a really good race, actually.
He had a lovely sit throughout.
Yeah, the winner, 330 in running.
They were strung out on the far side as they climb up and go under the trees at Goodwood, such a route that we see. Sylvester has had the freebie, hasn't he, Ross? Well, that's an extremely low price in running, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
did you have any of that, by the way? Did you? Because you were probably trading away, weren't you?
I was
smart champion.
I was smart champion in the place market, absolutely filthing it up.
Oh, okay. You hoovered as you maggoted.
Just desperately, come on, get there.
Willing it.
Just willing, yeah.
The more I click, the more
it's coming back out. Okay, yeah. I thought he did absolutely nothing wrong there because Callum Shepherd would have been told to ride like that. And
it's the classic thing where you could. There's an alternate universe where he's closer, but he gets stopped in his run. So
sliding door.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, we've mentioned a sliding door. That's when you know the pocket is talking.
There's an alternate universe where Gwyneth Paltrow is on board and nothing works out.
Okay, absolutely. Looking for
Look
the right
where he's come
tube.
From. Look where he's come from.
Yeah, let's talk about Oleg because so many people would have been on the gamble looking for Holly Doyle and Paul Nicholls scrubbed along Neil Hubbard. Well, I mean, he must have never gone anywhere, never really gone, a business end price.
No, the lowest price he was matched at was 5.2, and that would have been pre-race as well. Yeah, he was sort of tucked away on the inside. He's out in the open and he runs on a little bit.
He's Destiny's run all right, hasn't he? But I think
you have to bear in mind as well that he was coming here off the back of 2 wins, the second of which he was £12 higher than the first one, without the jockey claim as well. He did have a tough ask here up in class as well.
We're watching Willie Muir on course at Goodwood, arms up in the air, pile driver, and now he's got Just Hubert as well. You'd be looking towards the Cesaro, which now is racing. That's your sort of ballpark target, isn't it, when you're winning races like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he's proven that extra stamina as well. I mean, he is a stayer, Just Hubert, but he won a valuable race at Musselburgh last year in good style.
Tom Marquand, if you want someone coming to eyeball Sylvester de Souza on an outsider in the final furlong, few better men.
We were just saying about Oleg though. He's going in the tracker for me. I don't often put stays in the tracker, but
just finished a little. So do you think it might be the course that he hated?
I think if we watch that race back, he's buried down the rail, which in those races, none of the finishers have come down the rail. They've all come down the middle. He's come off the bridle, of course, because he's a stayer. But look here, so he tries to go down the rail, snatched up in his run.
He's got to get shuffled back, then comes across, and then comes back out again, doesn't he?
So he gets no run there, given a crack by Holly Doyle. Meanwhile, Smart Champion and Just Hubert are coming down the centre of the track. She can't go for him properly there. Sensational's dropping back in his lap there. Gets stopped again in the run. That's twice now. He gets stopped in the run.
You're talking yourself into a tracker here.
Absolutely. Switched out. Comes home.
And he does stay on.
Then tries to find a gap behind Summer Moon, who also fades in his path. Doesn't get a gap there. She has to switch for a 3rd time in the home straight. And he comes home and gets beaten into what? 7th?
Yeah, something like that.
Let's get the result up on the screen for you then. Let's get the Betfair. Here we go. There's a result. Just Hubert, 25 to 1 shot. Sees off the well-fancied Rochester House nose. Smart Champion in 3rd. What's the matter with him, man? It's absolutely blinding, man. And the Grand Vizier is always there for Ian Williams. Bit of softer ground for him. He will come back. Coeur de Leon, a little bit flat. Maybe Ascot taking a little bit out of him.
Yeah, he runs Ascot really well, and like you said, he was busting a gut, wasn't he, to come down that outside. Yeah, he didn't look the same horse there today.
So,
Yeah, he was
wow.
pushed along quite early, wasn't he?
We are cooking here, day 2. Simply glorious, glorious good. But let us know how you got on in that first race that we covered here. How's your week going? What are your big fancies? Hashtag RP Live. You can get your comments in on social, be it YouTube, Facebook, however you're doing. Don't forget the survey this week as well. Feedback, unbelievable. And the managers, the HR are probably coming in, aren't they? With feedback, how can we be any better? Well, let us know. The person who does the best feedback, I guess, at the end, wins a £50 voucher from Amazon. There's the QVC bit out the way.
There we go. What classifies the best feedback?
Ever teetered with going on QVC? I could do this. I could see you doing something.
Could you
like
see
that.
it? Yeah.
I don't know what you'd sell, but
I don't know what the £100 a watch.
the Frankel colours. I don't know.
I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must point out.
I wouldn't buy it from you, I have to say. But
Would you not? What, a second-hand watch?
definitely. Is it second hand? Is it second hand? We're going up a little bit, aren't we?
Well, it was my granddad, so it is second-hand. So
Well, there we go. All right. Well, don't go selling it then, man. In that
No,
case.
I'm not.
Well, there's a QVC bit out of the way. Myself, Dave Orton, Ross Brierley and Neil Hubbard. We're basically having fun all afternoon here. Real-time analysis. We'll get you the time of that race because even though it was a mile, 2 mile 4, we've had a mile 2, haven't we? Then 2 mile 4. We will be able to comparatively tell you whether or not it is good ground because the first was an absolute dawdle. So I'm just doing it slow by 11 seconds. So there's definitely still a little bit of juice in the ground. I was listening to the clerk of the course at just off air, just before we came on. He said, I reckon we'll be watering by the end of the week. But there's still, I think we're going to say a level playing ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be beautiful ground, hasn't it? Because we've had a nice bit of rain earlier in the week. The sun's come out to warm it up, and it's perfect summer racing ground. If your horse doesn't go on this, then if you get any horse is getting withdrawn for unsuitable ground, then we've got to get a bit worried, I think. Because
Well,
this should be
yesterday
perfect.
there were a couple that came out, beat Le Bon from memory in the Lennox, for
And Bless
example.
Him came out.
And Bless Him,
yeah.
who's got a great chance, we think, in the Golden Mile on Friday. So much more here to come on RP Live. We're here till Saturday. Tomorrow we've got Stevie Donahue coming in. Our current jockey, what can possibly go wrong there? Bruce Millington returns on Friday. Looking forward to that. The Golden Mile, indeed, the biggest draw race of the entire season, anywhere in the world. And then on Saturday, Paul Keeley comes in the studio. Whew, my goodness gracious me. If I'm still going then, Neil Hubbard, you might have to take over.
Heaven help us all if that is the case.
Heaven
But yeah,
help
long
us
week,
all.
long week, isn't it?
How's
Dave?
the punting going, Neil?
Yeah, not too bad there. Smart champion. We backed him winning place, and he got placed.
Happy
So,
days. So,
yeah.
how did we end up yesterday on the first day? We're doing this for racing welfare, I should say. So
Yeah,
Neil's got a
profit
great strike
yesterday.
rate.
Profit yesterday, so that was good.
Lovely.
Yeah, wasn't helped by following in Enzo's match bet in the Goodwood
Oh.
Cup, but that aside was pretty good. Two or three winners yesterday. So
Who
that
did
was
we
pretty
do?
solid.
Spanish Mission to beat
Naef.
Road, who ran an absolute blinder, didn't he?
Yeah.
Fair enough. What did you make of Stradivarius yesterday?
I'll be honest with you, Dave. I joined the fan club finally yesterday.
Unbelievable
It's
scenes.
taken me years. It's
Were you
taken me years.
screaming in running, or was that just saved for your own studio?
I didn't play it in. It was a race I didn't really have an opinion on, so I took the finger off the button.
That's something I never thought I'd hear. Okay.
I know. It's one race every 500 usually.
Just happened to be the Group 1 Goodwood Cup.
Yeah,
the
well-
most exciting Goodwood Cup probably in years.
Yeah, but in terms of betting wise, there wasn't many. I just wanted to see a proper ding dong.
Okay,
And
two
we got
questions
it.
for you because you weren't in yesterday, and this is your day this week. Is he the best cup stayer you've seen?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
who's he better than then?
Who's he
Yates,
better
then?
than?
Is he better than Yates?
I'd say so. Yeah, but then I guess I'm. There's the recency bias to bring into it as well, because in your head, it was literally yesterday. And it was a spectacular performance, and the more you see a horse, the more you do come around
And
to it.
pre-Foy, a trial for the Arc.
So I think it's a cracking move. I'm so happy.
It's exciting, isn't it?
This is what we want to see. I get so bored. This is why the staying division bores me to an extent, because you get horses running in the same races against the same horses when you want to know just how good they are against the other genuine sort of 1.5 to 2 mile contenders. I think him running, if he finishes third in an Arc, I think that respect will go through the roof for him.
And I think also what's kind of been missed a little bit about this, you remember the end of the season they aimed at Champions Day. The ground can often be worse than it can get, at Longchamp. It just didn't work out for him. Maybe, not a horse of Kew Gardens calibre who pipped him last year, but why not go for an Arc rather than getting bogged down, in the Champions Stakes stayers race?
How many times do we say about horses? How many times do we see? Again, we talk about Frankel, but a lot of people wanted to see him challenged over further repeatedly. We only
Yes.
saw him over 10
Never went up to
furlongs
mile
once.
4, did he? Yeah, never travelled either.
And we wanted to see I mean, Big Bucks is the most obvious example over jumps where you always thought, he's beating
Gone
the
from
same
Oleg
horses.
to Big Bucks.
Yeah, well, why not?
On a glorious Goodwood week. Yeah, okay, so the best cup stay you've seen. Neil, is he going to go for a fourth Gold Cup? There is talk of him now doing it, which surprised me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot perhaps depends on his arc run. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, he's going to be a national hunt stallion, presumably, isn't he?
We won't see him, his prodigy running in the Malcolm.
No, we
on
won't.
this day in 5 years' time.
I don't know. It's down to the owner, isn't it? I mean, it's a really sporting decision to go for the arc, one that is brilliant and is great to see. Just depends how often they want to go back to the well, because he's still a full horse, isn't he? He's still a colt or a full horse, and so it's just a case of how easy he is to remain or to keep training with another year on his back. So only those that are closest to him really know that. But it's just great that he's that we're going to see him tested in the arc.
Yeah, lots to talk about. What do you make of Stradivarius? We're still waiting for the Racing Post rating to come out. At Royal Ascot, he was rated a pound below Yates's best Gold Cup win. Will the handicappers now push him up? I think there's every chance they probably will. So let us know. Get your comments in. We love to give you shouts out as much as we can do it. Facebook, YouTube, however you're watching. Great to have you joining us here on Racing Post Live. Day 2. It's a long week ahead, isn't it? And it's about time we move on to our second race here on Racing Post Live. It's a serious handicap, a mile for the 2:15. Shall we get the market up, guys, on the screen and we can have a little look? Let's have a go. And funnily enough, the one I really fancy, I think, has just about made his way to the head of the market, Neil Hubbard, Glenties.
Yeah, he's also my selection for this as well, but there has been a decent amount of support for him overnight and all through this morning, and he is now market leader at 5.5, which is 9-2 in fractional odds. Carlos Felix next in at 5.9, Winner Clock 6.4, A Star Above 8.6, and double figures in decimals the rest. Glenties, yes, plenty of support for him overnight and this morning. He's my selection. I do think this is a really hot race, though.
It's sizzling.
It's going to be a race that you want to, where the form will probably work out moving forward. So it's a race to watch back a couple of times in your members club videos, because there's going to be plenty of forward-looking form clues here. But Glenties is a selection, a bit like Smart Champion. I'm going to back him win in place, but again, because of the nature of the race, I want to be a little bit more conservative here and actually weight my bet more into the place part.
Let's go for it.
So Glenties is 9.2, which is 5.6. So I'm going to have £20 win on him at that price. That bet is on there, and then I'm going to head across to the place terms. So again, you can back 3 places, 2 places, or 4 places. We'll back him just to be placed 3 places. So he's 2.14, which is around the 11 to 10. I'm going to have £30. So again, a £50 stake, but instead with Smart Champion it was 2020, we're actually going 20-30.
You're playing it safe.
Yeah, so just weighting it a little bit more in favour of the place part. That's been partially matched, it's been fully matched now. So yeah, we're on win and place for Glenties.
Myself and Neil Hubbard agreeing then. Mark Johnson, could this be a 5th win since 2012? For the Goodwood Maestro. Before we find out what Ross Brierley thinks, let's go to David Jennings, who's helping us out on the show this afternoon.
Yeah, I like Winner Clock in this one. I think he's a real improving middle distance horse, and I think he's crying out for a step back up to 1.5 miles. It was a 3-runner race he won at Leicester, but he actually traded quite short in running that, or tried quite big in running that day, because he looked in the early stages of the race like he was running off his feet. In the end, he beat Bronze River quite convincingly. To me, when he steps up to this sort of trip at a track like Goodwood, where Thomas Gray Tracks is going to be able to get some cover, I think he's really, really dangerous. A mark of 88, I think he's the type of a middle distance horse who can get up to 3 figures this year. I still think he's well handicapped, and I'll be disappointed if he doesn't win. That's Winner Clock.
Cheers, DJ. Had a great day yesterday, DJ, banging them in. It was one of those days, Ross, yesterday, wasn't it, where I think if you played it straight, it was either favourite or second or third favourites that were coming. It was just a sprint race in the last race, wasn't it, where a bit bookmakery way. Punter's day, it's trickier today, no doubt.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think yesterday, and I constantly have to remind myself, I've been, doing this for years, but I still have to remind myself, first day of a festival, just ease yourself in. It's a long week. You can get overexcited.
Yes.
And I think if you did ease yourself in and play it fairly straight yesterday, yeah, you would have done all right.
It's great when you get off to an absolute flyer, isn't it? But when you come to the Saturday and you're thinking, oh man, I wish I could go back to Tuesday. There's nothing worse than that. Responsible gambling. That's
Absolutely.
our motto here. Okay, so look. 2 for Glentees, 1 for Win O'Clock, who I backed at Royal Ascot. I'm with Dave. He got knocked over that day. The race is working out really, really well. I'm not totally sure. I think this is way hotter than. We'll see about that. I think I might keep him on my side, but it's Glentees I think will do him. You like Carlos Felix, right?
Yeah, he's a horse who went on my tracker from his first run, and then if I could have added him 2 more times, I would have done, because
I remember that at Yarmouth. Yeah, he was very eye-catching.
He was not bred to be running that well first time out. He ran an absolute cracker.
First ground.
It was a good race as well, and he's consistently run in good races since. He then ran twice on the all-weather at Newcastle and Kempton. They dropped him back to 7, which again was never really going to suit him. But that was a really hot race. Calusi was in second at Newcastle. Count of Amazonia won it. Obviously, Calusi has destroyed his rivals at Royal Ascot and then runs in group company. I think it's either tomorrow or Friday. Count of Amazonia probably should have won the other day at Redcar off a mark in I think it was 83. Then he ran at Kempton behind First View and First Receiver. First Receiver is now rated 108 after a massive run behind Russian Emperor at Royal Ascot. That Nugget run at Doncaster, I was like, here he is, handicap, first run of the season, all over him, smashed him off the boards. He stumbled coming out of the stalls, lost all chance.
And again, that was quite a good race, wasn't it? Nugget's gone on with it since, hasn't he?
He stayed on nicely as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he rocks up at Ascot on July the 11th this month, and albeit in a 4-runner race. That's my slight query about him. This is going to be a totally different kettle of fish, and he's gone up £10 for that. He romped home, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah, he did, yeah. I mean, he got up £10, these are things I'm making a note this morning. You know, First View beating's rated 87, First Receiver's rated 108, Thibarn 85, Grand Bazaar 88, Calusi 111. So 88 is probably what he should have started off.
Right. It was an absolute gimme then, was it that? Yeah.
And I'm hoping Luke Morris is exactly what he did that day. He switched him off. He came wide. I know it was a small field, but he made sure he came down the centre of the track. If he does that today and he comes home the same way he did at Ascot, I think he's going to be hard to beat. And it wasn't an overly strongly run race either. And I think he'd be better with a pace to chase. So there is a potential that I will follow this horse off a cliff, and that there's a mix of head and heart here, but I still think that, you know, from a handicapping perspective, from a performance perspective, from a breeding perspective as well, his half-brother Here Comes When won the Sussex Stakes here a couple of years ago. So
Mud lover.
He should be a very, very good horse. Whether it goes right for him today or not is another matter, of course.
Just checking how much Darren Yates paid for him. That was just a cool €700,000 as a 2-year-old.
Bargain.
Darren likes to get his checkbook out, doesn't he?
Absolute
Neil, we've
bargain.
covered the first 3 in the market. What else is seeing some love?
Well, actually, we're getting close to near enough joint favourites between Glentees and Win O'Clock is the one who's seen a little bit of money. Mark Johnson actually runs 2 in this, and King's Caper is his other one. It's been a little bit of support for him overnight, who comes into this after finishing second in the Italian Derby.
And Paul Keeley likes him. He says, do not dismiss King's Caper. So top tips to racing both. Paul Keeley going for this Joe Fanning. Another one for Mark Johnson, as I said. And it's almost a prerequisite. We were talking yesterday on the show when Tony Ennis was in that. If a Johnson horse disappoints and then comes a Glorious Goodwood, it almost makes you a bit more confident. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost as if they go elsewhere and they go, get the bad run out of the way because we know what the target is.
Well, always trying, of course, absolutely, yeah. But no, they do tend to find an extra leg, don't they?
Yeah.
At Glorious Goodwood. So why are we dismissing this one? He's drawn 6.
I don't think you should dismiss him. I think if at the prices, I actually prefer him to whisper it, but I prefer him to your Johnson horse, if I'm honest, given the prices. I mean, that Tuscan Gaze who beat him last time, he had been sold to Italy after a win at Newbury, where everything came out and Frank the Form and won. And he destroyed them that day, and he got up in the shadows of the post to win the Italian Derby, as I said. So I think he's a fascinating horse. I think the other really interesting horse here is Sarvan.
Yep.
For George Scott and Ben Curtis.
Pontefract winner. Beat a highly touted stout horse that day.
He did, and he
I
beat
must
him.
admit, I wasn't surprised with that. He was a big eye catcher first time up. I was with him that day, and the stout horse was drawn terribly. And Ryan Moore went to the front, didn't he? And Sarvan looked like a horse that would go over a bit more ground, which he's doing here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he looked like a stiff finish at Ponty seemed to be ideal for him, and he relished it. Really good speed figure, really impressive performance. Didn't do it felt like he wasn't fully extended to win. And George, I think, he looks like George Scott's possibly his best horse in his stable this year in terms of going forward. So
I wouldn't disagree with that. He's
fascinating.
He's having a bit of a quiet time of it, George Scott. He's not from last 13, so he just needs to. He's had a couple go close, but he just needs to pick up there. But Ben Curtis on big plus. Ben's got a legion of fans out there. I'll tell you why I quite like Glen Ties. I must admit I didn't think he'd be around about the 7-2 mark now. At Windsor, he did pretty much everything which you don't do at Windsor and win. He got detached turning for home, came down the centre of the straight. Have you been watching Windsor this year? You've been seeing them all up front, isn't it? All on the near side, even when it's been a little bit of rain. And this just screamed Glorious Goodwood to me. He's gone up only £4 for that. If he's not a near 100 horse, I'll be very, very surprised. But we are talking about this sort of race where the last winning favourite in the last 10 years was a horse called Dartmouth, who we all remember for the Queen, went on to win in Ardwicks and things like that, you know, some group races. Is it that sort of hot year?
I mean, I think it is. It looks like you were saying it's a warm race. There's a lot of market positivity about it. I mean,
I think there's a lot of really interesting, unexposed, interesting horses in here. We haven't spoke about Mambo Nights yet.
Go for it, Niels. Tell me about that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, he comes into this having won his last two. Last time out was at Ripon, wasn't it? He's got lots of good form in terms of, like in maidens, novices, whatever. As a juvenile, we finished behind Quadrilateral, we finished behind Berkshire Rocco, behind Kenzai Warrior, Max Vega, Khalifa Sat. All of his form as a juvenile is really, really good. He won at Ripon from the front in a small field, a bit like, you know, small field Carlos Felix. He did it from the front, just under hands and heels. Any amount of improvement to come from him. I think this is a really good race. I think it's a difficult betting race, but I think it's a really good race with an eye for the future.
Yeah, that form, his last win hasn't worked out that well either, has it? Stockbridge tapped the horse he beat at Ripon last time, albeit he beat him quite convincingly. Has fallen in a hole yesterday. I think it was albeit over a trip. We've got, how many last time out winners have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep going up. 5, 6, 7. 7 last time out winners. So
well, this is the thing. So you've got 7 last time out winners, and every horse who didn't win last time out got beat in a Group 2 or a Group 3. So it is red hot.
Yeah, so this is exciting stuff, isn't it? Race 2 is here on RP Live. Where are you? Let's get some more social comments if we possibly can coming in. Hashtag RP Live. And Ross Brierley on the screen there. Absolutely loving his moment in the sun. So look, come on. What's the one that you're not with that you'll be like, this is egg on face? Come on. Let's. People want to know about the lays out there. Here's an interesting topic. What don't you like to go above to lay, for example? Do you like to just try and get short price favourites beaten as a lay, or is it, for example, Win O'Clock for me? I think this might prove a bit too far for him. A step up at this point in a race of this nature. He's 9-2 at the moment. Of the market leaders, I think him and Star Above for William Haggis, who's having a fantastic time. Holly Doyle is on, but from stall 8, I could see that hat-trick big coming unstuck as well. They'd be the two that I'm against.
I'd be against Mambo Nights mainly because of the run style. We've seen prominent horses, do quite well so far today, but I think in this kind of race, in a red-hot handicap over 1.5 miles here at Goodwood, I just don't think it's going to suit Mambo Nights' run style. So that would be, not from a form perspective, but from a run style perspective, I could see that one being taken on by Sandham Cannons and maybe fade late on. Yeah,
I think like a Star Above won last time out at Leicester. On the same card that Win O'Clock did. I don't know. It's all about price, isn't it? And then once you start laying it around 5-6 to 1, I don't know. It's like so much to do with betting, isn't it? A lot of it is just down to personal preference and what you feel comfortable doing, really.
I think if you went back through my Betfair account and I never placed any of the lays that I'd placed, I'd probably be a lot better off.
I mean, like the principle of doing it is great because you get the field on your side, so you get a lot of horses running for you. But it's just about, I know people get scared of the concept of playing bookmaker, but that's not necessarily true, because you're not laying everything in the field. You're just taking on one horse or two horses or whatever you feel most comfortable doing. I think in terms of like Dave's question around what price do you feel most comfortable laying, I think you also need to factor in the type of race that you're comfortable laying in. In a race like this, isn't necessarily a race I'd feel comfortable laying in, simply because of the amount of unexposed horses that are in here. I wouldn't be massively surprised if anything really won this, I suggest.
But surely the counter argument there then is, in theory, you've got the whole field running for you.
Well, yeah. That's a totally fair one. But I wouldn't know which one do you choose to take on. You could say Sound of Cannons or Damage Control to take on, but right away you're having to lay them at 40s, 50s, and that's... That's an expensive one to get wrong, really.
I think you're either a backer or a layer mentally, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're either a positive or a negative in terms of those races. Because I know some people who will lay horses, and that's the way they approach the race. They look at it and go, right, which do I think is underpriced and which do I want to take on? Whereas I go completely the other way and I go, which is unexposed and which one do I like to get on the side of? So I think mentally, psychologically, it is
an interesting one though with this race though, because the exchange is very good in the win market for offering an absolute heap of value on outsiders. And you look down this race, well, how many runs have we got? We've got 9 runners, and the biggest price is 25, so 24 to 1, which just naturally seems is quite a concertina's market there. The market itself isn't throwing any of them out at a huge price, which goes back and just sort of tallies with everything we've said about this race, with it being a really interesting and informative contest.
Nothing's a stinker, basically, is it, in the market? What about in Cypher then? Because Frankie Dettori and Gosden on, he's quite an interesting horse, isn't he? And we haven't given him a lot of love yet.
He's the only one we haven't talked about. He's got a cracking chance.
We know what happens when we don't talk about a rag.
Absolutely.
They go desperately close.
He's really interesting though, isn't he? Because they stepped him up into the Dante last time. He ran okay. He was one of the last ones off the bridle, and then ultimately emptied a little bit. Probably the class step up in class too much for him. But he's been hit with a £6 rise, I think, for that. And then the next move is to bring him back into handicap company. Now he would have got in here without that £6 rise anyway, but they obviously weren't too concerned about his handicap mark because they pitched him in at that level. So the fact that he's gone up 6 and then they've reverted back to a handicap would suggest to me that they still think he's okay handicapped for a race of this nature.
I'll tell you what, this is super exciting, isn't it? Where are these social comments? Get them in on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are. The guys will decipher through them and we'll get you out, give you a shout out. Who are you with in this uber hot handicap? This will be the race as well. I think we can really gauge what the ground's doing, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first two have been, obviously we had a staying trip with no stalls last time out that was run at a Dordle as well.
Yeah.
And the first race was an absolute crawl. So yeah, you're right. It's but I mean, looking on the pictures, it's baking. I mean, it's again still not warm enough to be allowed to take your jacket off. Goodwood.
The Panamas are out though, aren't we? Which
They
brings
are.
us. We're not even talking about Saturday yet. How exciting we are going to have 5,000 annual members back on track. This is something we thought we might not see this year.
Yeah, it is a bit strange. It's life is starting to return to normal.
Oh,
kind
please
of.
Lord, yeah. But
Have you been
yes.
to the pub yet, Dave?
Have I been out of the pub? Yeah, no, I have. I have, of course, I've been to the pub. What a ridiculous question from us, Bryony. We're going to try and have a beer afterwards, aren't we? And we're going to chinwag over things. It's nice that...
I've heard you're buying, Dave. Is that right? Getting around it?
It depends. Well, after Smart Champion, you're not buying, are you? Let's face it. Once
If Carlos
Siskin...
Felix wins, I'll buy a round.
Once Siskin topples my 2 compadres in the studio, perhaps I'll buy them a beer afterwards. But it's great to be getting back to that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, especially with racing, it's synonymous. The two go hand in hand because, we like to sit in the pub and have a beer and talk about racing. A lot of people would liken this show to seeing some guys just talking in the pub, basically, having a fly-on-the-wall experience, real-time analysis. It's what you get. We don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to have a bit of fun. You can say what you like here, old boy.
Can I?
Hang on.
We'll see how it goes first. But yeah, it is weird. I mean, I felt a bit for... we obviously watched. It's been pretty much the end of the football season, and you're having feature races at the likes of Goodwood and Newmarket, and seeing footballers turn to celebrate to an empty stadium, and seeing owners.
It should be
and
great
jockeys
on
come
Saturday,
back.
shouldn't it? Okay,
Yeah.
we've got some socials in. Thanks, Ross. Let's have a look at what's on the screen. Who have we got joining us at the moment? Anthony Hennessy. Welcome, Anthony. Sarvan is a big danger here. Absolutely. George Scott. Could this be the big winner for him? Come on, Glenn T, says Jody Moore. I'm with you, so's Neil Hubbard. What else have we got? And Nick Palfrey. Good to have you, Nick. Carlos Felix each way. Weighing in with Ross Brierley.
I hope you're right. I just want Luke Morris to be absolutely getting stuck into him down the centre of the track. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, well, absolutely. He knows how to kitchen sink it, doesn't he? Just looking at the screen, I can see Glenn Tees is taking his time, Neil Hubbard, to get down to the start under William Bluick. How's that affected the market?
Yeah, we're 5 minutes over already, aren't we? And it does. Oh, he's just getting to the stalls now. Very solid at the top of the market. Clear favourite now at 5, so that's 4 to 1. Carlos Felix next at 6.
He has dipped under the 5s, hasn't he? I've been
Yeah,
watching
he
a
has.
little bit.
Yeah, Winner Clock. The support for him has dried up, and he's back out to 7. A star above 8.8. Sarvan, who one of the viewers flagged up there, 10.5. It's a very open market, but Glenn Tees is your market leader at the minute, and he's just reached the start, so hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer.
So if we're expecting quite a bit of pace on it, it's going to suit Win O'Clock, for example. Thomas Great Tricks, who keeps the ride after. I mean, we think he'll be ridden to get the trip again. Some other ones that might be ridden.
What do you think they'll do with Glen Tees then? Because at Windsor last time he was out the back more by, like, not by design, was it? I think he just ended up there, but they may have discovered a nice way to ride him. So
he looked like a horse that might again want to, eat up some ground as well, wouldn't he? So from stall 1, I'm sure they won't be too far away, but I don't think he's your obvious Johnson, just get on with it horse.
Are you worried about the one box? Are you worried about getting trapped in behind runners?
You can never say you're not worried about stall 1.
At Goodwood,
unless it's a mile, of course.
In fact,
over Goodwood.
you're supporting 2, because Siskin's in one as well. So
that's it. Come on, the one poke. You've
got a potentially painful afternoon ahead of you.
I'd rather be with the one box on the round course, that's for sure. Anyway, they're going in. So listen, good luck wherever you're going. It is the slightly late off 2:15, one of the hottest handicaps, if not the hottest 3-year-old mile-and-a-half handicap so far. Glen Tees looks like he's going to go off. Clear favourite now. Carlos Felix been really solid for Dave Simcock and Luke Morris taking the ride. There are loads of progressive horses in here. Win O'Clock, will he keep that progression going? Or will it be something like that Sound of Cannons, the rag? Only 22-1. In the boxes are about to go off, and they're off and running then. We'll be going to Neil Hubbard for a market move shortly, but let's give you the positions as they go through it. Carlos Felix, as expected, does sit back. Damage control for the Baldings. He's going forward. Frankie Dettori looks like he's getting up there as well. What a surprise. Whenever we see Frankie Dettori in front, he's on in cipher for Godolphin. They know they're not going that fast. Glen Tees takes a little sit there just on the inside, making full use of that box. They've been told to get on with it. A little bit keen just in behind is the Star Above. Sound of Cannons looking for him right at the back with Carlos Felix. Sarvan, they're taking the view that he's going to need his stamina energised right at the end. He's right out the back. Win O'Clock, a little bit keen. Mambo Knights, Neil Hubbard. He's usually a front runner. He was last time. Looks really keen to me. What's the market saying?
All about Glen Tees. He's 5-2 now. 5-2, clear market leader. Carlos Felix 5-1. Win O'Clock 8.4. But yeah, Glen Tees 3.55.
He's slightly unpestered as well, though. Frankie's just going up to his quarters. King's Caper just in behind for Paul Keeley. Star Above sitting in the midfield. Damage control, one of the rags out there as well. Win O'Clock, Ross Brierley. How would you be if you were with him at the moment? He's just dropped his head quite nicely now.
Yeah, he has, but I'm worried when they don't go a mad gallop here. You're going to end up getting stuck on the inside. If you're a Star Above or Win O'Clock, they're going to turn into the home straight, and you're going to be finding gaps closing in front of you left, right, and centre. Sarvan and Carlos Felix have got a lot to do, but they're at least on the outside of runners. Strange race, really, though, because again, Mambo Knight's complete change of tactics for him, which means that the pace duel hasn't necessarily unfolded. Yeah. And again, like the last race, you've got 2 Johnston horses sitting 1 and 2.
15-8, Glen Tees. 15-8.
And they're now rounding the lower bend, the sweep into the home straight, and Glen Tees fills his lungs with Will Buick, unpestered. But Frankie Dettori in cipher is right on his outside. There's a weight differential between them. We're expecting it to get fruity any minute now, around about 3 furlongs out. Sarvan starting to warm up. Mambo Knight shaking the reins. A Star Above not done with yet whatsoever. Where's Carlos Felix? Ross Brierley.
He's right out the back. Luke Morris is going through the gears now. Damage Control's had a lovely run through. He looks a big danger.
Glen Tees outpaced at the moment. Damage Control coming there really strong. Glen Tees is really going to have to
Damage
find.
Control favourite.
Not looking good at all for the favourite. Falls in the hole. What a disappointing one. Here comes Carlos Felix.
Here comes Luke down the outside. Surely this horse has got a perfect run down the outside.
Neil Hubbard.
Mambo Knights, even money. Mambo Knights 3's on.
Oh my goodness gracious me, is in cipher done with. It's firing across. Sarvan's coming. Is a Star Above going to get there as well? William Agus. It looks like Star Above's going to get this to me, guys. Filling the lungs. Damage control
Sound
coming
of
back.
Cannons.
Sound of Cannons launching on the outside. The rag of the lot. Not going to be good enough though. Mambo Knights, hands and heels. Andrea Azzini for the Hannons. 2 comes clear. Carlos Felix, Sound of Cannons in third hot race.
Great ride. I mean, he's completely changed his tactics there, and it's paid off wonderfully for him because he's. As I said, if he'd have run like he had at Ripon, he'd have faded like the other front runners there because they haven't got home over this trip. Again, we've seen over this mile and a half trip that making all the running is a difficult thing to do. I mean, Glen Tees came from last to first at Windsor and has switched to the front. Yeah. Mambo Knights has done the complete opposite.
Yeah. Punters will be, of course, scratching their heads now saying, what on earth have I just seen? For me, Glen Tees, I'd like to have seen him go a bit faster, I think. Although, because Frankie Dettori was never that far off his quarters, and the speed horses came at him, and he's either sulked or he has just completely fallen in a hole. Not the horse we saw at Windsor. Winner Clock never looked like it got anywhere to me. That was running up and down on the spot. Perhaps didn't like this undulating track we got. Sarvan had his chance, filtered out. Damage Control, that was a big run. Neil Hubbard, story of the race.
Plenty going on here. Damage Control, you just mentioned there, he hit 2-1 in running. Sound of Cannons hit 3.45 in running. And Cypher hit 3.1. A Star Above 1.16, so the same price as Rochester House in the opener. Glentease hit a low of 2.5, so that was pretty much when they turned for home. But he emptied really
I
disappointingly.
would like to have seen him kit there, Will Buick. I think that was a strange one.
And the winner, 25s in running.
Carlos Felix hit 2.12.
Sorry, I hadn't even reached him, but yeah.
And Sarvan hit 3.15, I think.
So pretty much...
The whole field went a short
Let's
price.
concentrate on that high there for Mambo Knights, the winner. When do you think that was? Do you think that was early on when the punters were like, hang on a minute, he usually goes from the front. This can't possibly win. He looked a bit keen to me, but he settled beautifully, didn't he?
Yeah, he ran really nicely. And again, like in the final stages, as you touched on there, Dave, it was a bit like Ripon. It was just hands and heels. I think there's plenty more to come from him.
It's strange, isn't it? Okay, we've had a horse that's won its last two, went from the front. They said not this time. Perhaps they looked at the race, the Hannons, and thought this is just going to be an absolute burn-up. We're just going to run ourselves into the ground. We'll take our medicine. But it was Stall Fried. He could have had the lead if he wanted. They must have gone a pretty good pace there, guys, because the closers all came to the fore. But like I say, it just looked like William could have kicked. And I don't know. What do you think about that out there? Who are you with? Did any of you manage to get Mambo Knights out there? Let us know. I know Bruce Millington was very keen on this. Rather good day for Bruce. Show stalwart so far. Where will we go with Carlos Felix now? Again, the two Simcock horses we've had so far, you've come pretty close, crossbarred so far. They've both come right down the outside. It's obviously a ploy that David's told his jockeys to do.
Yeah, and I think it's the right decision. But, I mean, I would possibly, you might be looking at a 10 furlong trip, because at one point he looked like he was going to come through, and then he's just not stayed as strongly as the others. But just watching this, I mean, again,
I'm trying to remind myself of his sire. It's a 10 furlong sire, isn't it? Lope de Vega, a French Derby winner. As you mentioned, he's half brother to a Sussex winner. So yeah, that's a good
maybe
shout.
So maybe drop back a couple of furlongs.
Cambridgeshire? Ooh.
Possibly, yeah, if he's good enough for that. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed with that, given where Sound of Cannons come from. But it might well just turn out that, like I said, in a truly run race, he's not got home. But
Sound of Cannons, actually, you're watching it back, he's almost one of the last jockeys to go from. Just seeing who was on there. It's Jim Crowley. So Jim he's just sort of lost a bit of ground, doesn't he, and come again. That his 3 runs this season had been in listed or group company, and he's finished third. The front 2 have come clear. You've got to take a positive view of this form.
Yeah, you have to. I think the winner is really good. Just watching this back now, unlike a Goodwood race for the winner, he's actually been pretty trouble-free throughout, and he's got to the front. He's had a couple of hits with the whip, but then inside the final half furlong, he's generally just hands and heels, and he's holding the runner-up, although the runner-up comes back a little bit at the line. But it's just a race to view really positively, I think.
A Star Above really has run rather well. William Agus is just, when he's sizzling, as he is at the moment, he could do very little wrong. By Sadler's Wells mare, by Cedar Stars, just great breeding, isn't it? And I think that actually had, just looking at a collateral line of form, puts her quite close to Mambo Knights. They both beat a horse called Stockbridge Tap, the James Bethel horse, who I mentioned earlier on the show, had disappointed yesterday at Thirsk, albeit over the ground. She's come back, she's been 5-6 favourite 1, 5-4 favourite 1. Again, we've got a filly that can maybe take on her own sex next time. Plenty of winners coming out of Glorious Goodwood Week.
it just looks a great race, doesn't it? I mean, you were saying before, in terms of if you're a backer, or if you're saying about being a layer, you've got the whole field running for you. And I mean, you could have had a blanket lay in the entire field at sort of 2 to 1, 5 to 2, and got what, 8 matched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, looking at these prices: Damage Control, Carlos Felix, Glentease, and Cypher, A Star Above, Sound of Cannons, all matched at sub, say 5 to 2 sort of mark.
Where do we go now with the winner? Let's concentrate on Mambo Knights. We look at York's Ebor meeting, maybe a handicap there. Would you look at something like the Melrose, perhaps, over the slightly longer trip?
I mean, you'd have to. There's some really nice back-end races over this trip, isn't there? Newmarket's got a really good 3-year-old handicap. Ascot's got a really good 3-year-old handicap as well. So, I mean, I would just stick to the trip, I think.
So Ron Priestley won this race last year. He then came back for a Group 3 at Goodwood later in the month. So listen, this is also, I think, that will be taking the next step. The Hannon team were absolutely gutted yesterday when they had a 2-year-old of theirs first time out beaten in the maiden just after we came off air. So this will be giving them a big fillip, and Richard's horses are running particularly well. It's a yard that we do, of course, associate with Glorious Goodwood. So look, let's get have we had the results up on the screen? I haven't seen it, guys, if it did come up on the screen. It was already up. So Mambo Knights beat A Star Above and Sound of Cannons the Rag. A hot race for you. And there we go. Thank you very much, Rob Lee in the studio. The Unibet 3 boost today. Handicap result. Mambo Knights 9-1 beats a 13-2 shot and a 22-1 shot. Did any of you have the trifecta out there? We don't really talk about multiples too much on this show, do we? All of the exotic ways of betting. However, we're Betfair Exchanging. We're going to learn plenty from Neil Hubbard as we're going along. And it's the 2-year-olds that will be coming out next. The Malcolm. We go from the stamina. We're sort of climbing down the stamina ladder today, guys. Are you happy to call this one? You're going to call the race today, aren't you?
I'll call the Sprite race. You want me to call the Sprite race? Is that right?
We're calling it the Sprite race, are we?
Yeah, well,
I
that's what
did
you
call
call
it the
it.
Sprite
Yeah, you
race.
did, yeah,
We're,
yeah.
Like we're assuming that Carl Burke's 2-year-old's going to go and win our last race on 3:45, but a really tricky filly conditions race. But you're going to give it a call for us.
Well, that would make it significantly easier for me because she's likely to lead all the way. So let's just make it simple.
You've put that up, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think she's got a cracking chance. But it is specifically the British Stallion Studs Alice Keppel EBF Fillies Condition Stakes. So
yeah, so Neil Hubbard, you got the money from Smart Champion placing in the first. We disappointed there with Glensy's. A bit too bad to be true, that, wasn't it? And burnt fingers for me, that's for sure. I was on quite a nice price, actually. It was awful.
I was just going to say that was 8.8 seconds above standard. So we've had 5.06, 11.39 and 8.8.
I think we're almost... that's just come through from the guys in the studio as well. So we are talking about a little bit of juice still in the ground. A little bit of watering going on perhaps at Goodwood. I think that might be the case, isn't it? They like to have the cushion there, look. So, yeah, slightly slower. Maybe some horses didn't like that. It was rattling fast for Glenty's last time at Windsor. What do you reckon? Is the ground slightly to blame? Slightly slower than expected, isn't it? Not sure about that. The Malcolm, perhaps when the Speedster 2-year-olds come out, they'll be trying to go sub a minute there, won't they? So this will be very...
We'll actually get another view of the track and just see if Standside's riding any quicker, because the first few races have been far side / middle, really, but you would assume that in this they're all going to come up the near side. So it'll give us a bit of a gauge, won't it?
The 2 straight races we had yesterday, it was pretty much stand side, wasn't it? I think that was kind of where we wanted to be, as we kind of high numbers we associate on the sprint track at Glorious Goodwood. Let's go to the Malcolm then. Move swiftly on. It's the 2:45. It is the Malcolm, the Group 3 stakes. So often see also around some glorious from the Newmarket meeting in July and Ryan Ascot coming here, but we have an Irish raider that has been significantly well back, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, a couple of Irish runners in this, but Steel Bull for Colin Keane as he tries to get a winner on the board before Siskin a bit later. He's currently market leader at 4.1, significantly 5.1, second favourite. Sardinia Sunset 5.3, Night on Earth 8.8, and the other Irish raider for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, Chief Littlehawk, is in at 10.
And who do you fancy, Neil Hubbard? Let's get your play out of the way.
Well, tricky one, but I'm gonna have a in-running lay on significantly here.
Ooh.
So this is a horse who seemingly has all the talent in the world. He's hit the crossbar 3 occasions now. He's been runner-up on all 3 starts to date. Travels like an absolute good thing through the majority of his races. This is going to be run, you would think, like really quickly, really fast pace. You can see him absolutely cruising into the race. Based on his previous, he's likely to find 1 too good. And so, for me, I'm going to lay him.
Right.
He's currently 5.2. He has been beat at, I think he's been beaten at 1.2 and 1.14 or something of his races. So he has got previous of going really low. So I reckon we can be a little bit bold here, and we're going to try and lay him at 1.5, which is 2s on in running for £50. So that's to win £50 if he gets beat, or for a liability of £25 if he actually goes on to win. So we're going to place that bet. We're going to confirm that bet. It's going to be unmatched because we're laying at a price that's well below market rate at the minute. But we're going to do this in play. So we're going to keep the bet, which means when the market goes in play, our bet will go live. We're going to update that there. And so, yeah, based on his run style, how we think this race is going to be run, we can see significantly travelling really well, but it doesn't mean he's necessarily going to win. So we're going for a little in-running lay on significantly.
I like the left field angle there. There's a lot of love for significantly in there. Carl Burke in the members section, who picked up your racing both this morning, he said he should have won all his 3. He was a little bit green on his debut at Newmarket. I remember at Newcastle, the first week of racing resumption. I mean, they really came for him in the market that day. Blame the jockey, he said. Don't often hear that these days. At Doncaster, and last time, I think perhaps they went a little bit too soon. So Ben Curtis from stall 1. Stall 1, Ross Brierley, is not ideal, is it? It has been defied once in the last 10 years, but you know that's nearer the middle of the track. We're thinking it might be stand side. Ben Curtis is going to have a very significant game plan here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, and a horse is quite a keen goer as well. So you're going to have to try and find cover, aren't you, from that box 1. So there is a slight concern that the significant is going to be stuck on the outside, pulling for its head, and then come there and the tank. Hope what you want. Yeah, that's exactly what you want. You want him to not get that much cover, come there.
You want him to look like he's travelling really well. Now, look, can he win this race? Of course he can win this race. But just the way it's going to set up, like we're taking pretty much a low-risk approach here. It's only going to cost us £25 if he does go on and win the race, really. So we're not risking an awful lot of money. Goes back to what we were saying before. What sort of price are you comfortable laying at? Like we've in effect placed a 2-to-1 bet that he hits that price and doesn't win. I'm quite comfortable with that.
I love it, Neil Hubbard, quite comfortable, absolutely. Going to learn plenty about the exchange. We say that mid-afternoon, every show here, whether you're a beginner, a novice, or indeed a seasoned pro like Ross Brierley here or Neil Hubbard. Lots to learn about the exchange. How are you finding it today? Let us know. A reminder, get your socials in. We love giving you shouts beforehand. Plenty of opinions on that Mile 4 race, wasn't it? What's going to win this Molecombe? Paul Keeley, absolutely all over this steel bull. Shall we talk about this, Ross Brierley? And is this your selection?
No, not for me. I can certainly see him running a big race. The speed figure was good. The performance was impressive. Travelled like an absolute dream. Heavily backed in the morning at Naas. This was only a week ago, of course.
I think he was something like 6-1 when the books opened up. Paul Keeley on a feature show I did with him last week. He said if this horse comes over, it will win the Molecombe. So, and we're now looking at 11-4 favourite. What's the negs then?
The negs are, I think, the trainer's record with this kind of horse, in a way. How many O'Callaghan horses have we seen look absolute machines on debut when they're heavily backed, then they come out next time out and they disappoint a bit? As far as I'm aware, I think his last group winner was Blue de Vega, 4 years ago?
Qatar Racing, wasn't it? Yeah. Who's now with Robert Cowell, isn't he? In different colours, of course. But
to be fair, he won. I mean, he won last week, didn't he? Blue de Vega at Newmarket. So, but it's just those horses that he has. They are very precocious. They're very fit and well, and they're ready first time out. They look impressive, and often they flatter to deceive next time out. So I'm just a little bit worried whether he was a morning glory. He showed it first time out, and then he's going to find one or two too good.
To counter that, and I think I think I'm probably more on that side, but there will be people out there that will be. This is drawn 7. This one's so well on its debut, and it's Colin Keane, Michael Callaghan, Paul Keeley's eye over it. This is going to win. To counter that, and on that side of the argument, he was. I think he was. If he wasn't already entered in the Molecombe, it was certainly this. I think this might have been part of the plan. It's a quick backup, isn't it? But I wonder whether this has always been the target.
Possibly, yeah. It's just interesting that is it not the debut was a bit. It's a bit sharp,
beat an odds-on shot as well, didn't he? So look, it could.
And the second's a good yardstick. The Den Star had run into 2 or 3 decent horses. The form is solid, absolutely. Like I said, it's just having that concern in the back of my head that this isn't the first time people have gone mad for an O'Callaghan horse. It's not necessarily worked out, but it only takes one to book that track.
What's the Brierley play then?
I'll probably split the stakes sort of 70-30. On 2 horses. Sardinia Sunset's one of them.
Interesting. Tell me why. No, I'm not.
Already going to pop the balloon there.
Tell me, sweet little why. No. Absolutely. I mean, look, we are talking about a second fav, and there's a lot of money for it in the market now. 9-2 and 7-2. Ross O'Ryan and Roger Varian drawn 8.
I don't think the York race is particularly good. I don't think the form was very good. I think she won in spite of herself there. Things didn't go to plan necessarily, but I just think that Queen Mary form is red hot.
Oh, winners coming out of that left, right and centre, aren't they? Yeah.
I think it's a really, really good race. Liberty Beach finished 4th in the Queen Mary, won this last year. So, again, it can be done. But it's just following that form. The Sacred form, obviously, on debut is really, really good as well. Box 8, in theory, she gets the perfect run through, and she managed to manoeuvre out of a narrow gap last time out to win. But I've had to have a saver on the horse I can't quite understand the price of. It's doubled in price, and that's Army of India.
Right. Ah, yes, indeed. Very interesting horse. All weather so far.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And his sire, Sepoy, is a very good all-weather sire, but has had 3 two-year-old winners from, I think, only 5 runners at the track. So very limited sample size, but certainly not a negative. But I thought he was interesting. He's boxed 10, stays 6 furlongs, but bags and bags of early speed. And they did a very similar thing with Yalta a few years ago, who dropped back to 5 furlongs after running over 6. And I just thought he was very interesting, given where he's drawn, given how he runs,
on the fence,
given that he stays on the fence as well. It wouldn't be the first time you saw a horse of his nature disappear in front of everyone, and everyone's trying to jostle for gaps in behind, and the winner has flown. So Sardinia Sunset's the main pick, but I thought Army of India is in danger of getting loose.
If she hadn't have run at York, sorry Neil, if she hadn't have run at York,
Yeah.
I'd be quite keen on Sardinia Sunset.
So you're against her because she won?
I am, and I think I was disappointed with her that day. She was odds on, drifting in the market. She looked beat until the line,
Yep.
and this is as quick I think she might want a slightly stiffer peg. However, Ross O'Reilly's having a great season for Roger Vera. I just think at 7-2 I'd be against that. One at a massive price is International Dream. If you like significantly, then International Dream, Neil Hubbard, who's way up in the market, was only just behind this. The handicapper's rated £2 low. Why is he so big?
Yeah, he's 55 on the exchange at the minute. He is, and it's only Deliver the Dream that is actually bigger in the market than him. But just going back very quickly, sorry, to Ross's point when he sort of said earlier about stealing each other's homework. I've obviously played significantly in running, but the 2 horses which I had, my most likely winner was Sardinia Sunset, and one at a price maybe to be placed, something like that, was Army of India. So they were the 2 that I was juggling with whether to put up and how to play it before coming down on the side of significantly. But in terms of
when we agreed earlier, it went all right, didn't it? So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Let's go to David Jennings then before I tell you what I'm tipping in this race. DJ, what's going to win the Malcolm?
Yeah, the Malcolm is a fascinating race this year. Steel Bull makes it fascinating because we just don't know how good he is. He was very, very impressive when well back to win a maiden at Naas. Michael O'Callaghan has sent him straight here. It's only a week after that win, so he could be good, but I think significantly could potentially be 3 out of 3. And if he was, he'd be a very short price favourite here. At Sandown last time, he probably just hit the front a little bit too soon under Ben Curtis. He travelled all over the winner, like he has in all his races so far. To me, he looks the fastest of these. I think he's got an instant turn of foot. He travels really keen in his races, and I think a track like Goodwood is really going to suit significantly. He's rated 93. I think he's a bit better than that. He's got experience on his side now, and I think the track is going to play to his strengths. So significantly for me in the Malcolm.
Complicated. I'm going to throw Night on Earth into the mix for Andrew Balding and Oisin Murphy. Oisin Murphy could do with a winner on the week. That's good, Andrew Balding as well. Cameco's got coming up with half an hour away from the Sussex Stakes. But this chap, I was quite impressed with him at Windsor. Covered the race for the post. It was a good time, Ross Brierley, that day. I think he'll probably just sit 3rd or 4th. He's got a good draw in 6. Can see him hitting the line strongly. They like him.
Yeah, he's one of the ones where we just don't know how good he is. Because he was quite comfortably beaten on debut, but that was a good race at Windsor, won by Supremacy. And like you said, it was a very, very simple victory last time out. We just haven't seen the best of him. He could easily improve for this. And he's one of the few horses in here. You've got 2 contrasting fields, haven't you? They've got the horses who have been challenged already at Newmarket and Ascot and enlisted in group races at Sandown. Yeah. And then you've got the Night on Earth and the Steel Bulls, who we just don't know what improvement they've got to come.
The market is speaking incredibly positively about Steel Bull. Sorry, Dave, but he's clear favourite now, 3.35. So he's around the 12-5 mark. He's the only horse that
I've got to just jump in, Neil. David Jennings is actually at Galway for us. We've got Galway this week. We are going to talk a little about the Galway Plate. Do not worry if that's your bag at the end of the show. Galvin, we're hearing, is a non-runner. The anti-post plunge. Gordon Elliott going for a 5th Galway Plate in the last 6 years or something incredible. And Davy Russell's mount is out. So he's a bruised foot. We're hearing that Galvin misses the Galway Plate. At the end of the show, we're going to dissect that for you. It looks impossible. It looks even harder now. Is there any harder than impossible? I don't know. But it's just become it. We're about to invent it. If you were on Galvin, he's gone. Bruised foot, not happening. Let's get back to Glorious Goodwood. Galway at the end of the show. So, sorry, Neil Hubbard. Let's go to the market.
Now, I was just saying about
with the philosophy, Neil. Of it, can you be harder than impossible?
Yeah, I know. I'm completely mind blown. But Steel Bull, yeah, 3.15 now. Considering this thing opened around 11-2 on the exchange when betting opened, he's now into 11-5. It's a 1-horse race, really, in terms of the market. Significantly next 4.7. Sardinia Sunset 5.4. In fact, International Dream we touched upon, he's actually even bigger now. 95 he is out to now. But it's a one-horse race, really, from a market point of view. 9-4 Steel Bull.
Should say that Bruce Millington likes International Dream as well, and he's knocked a couple of the big ones out of the park so far. In fact, I think he's on a hat-trick. So, Bruce, all the best with that. And listen, there's a good case to be made for this. So, should we talk about the average SPs of the winners here? You imagine it'd be a race that favourites do quite well in. Well, actually, there's only been 2 in the last 10 years. Liberty Beach, as Ross mentioned last year, massive plunge on that. The great Liberty Beach, who comes back this year to face Batash on Friday. Cannot wait for that. And Zebedee back in 2010. The Speedball sire that we know. However, only 1 winner in the last 10 years, Ross Brierley. That was Bungle in the Jungle for Mick Channon, 2012, over 10-1.
Yeah, it's so what we're saying is no favourites, no rags, slap bang in the middle.
Fancied runner, runner. So listen, I'm happy
War
with
the market.
Night on Earth for sure. That's in fact, the more I come round to this, I think he's going to have a big set around about 6 or 7-1.
What do we make of the Aidan O'Brien Ryan Moore one after Battleground yesterday?
Remarkable that we've taken this long to get to Chief Little Hawk, of course, who won
15.5.
Who won as he pretty much pleased on his debut. They rushed him, didn't they? Set a week later. He behind Tactical, although that form looks a little bit better now. He was drawn right on the on the stand side. Just it didn't go his way. He was on the far side. Sorry, that was one of their bankers of the week, we were told as well. Then went back to the Cork, a race he probably should have done a bit better in, behind a horse called Dicky Doodah, who disappointed in the Queen Mary. Chief Little Hawk.
But again, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you're measuring the Windsor Castle and the Queen Mary and the Norfolk all up against each other, and the Queen Mary, Dicky Doodah and Gramatu were both out of that race, finished ahead of Chief Little Hawk, who came out of the Windsor Castle. So collaterally, the Queen Mary does look a better race, but and he's the most. It's very rare you'd get a Ballydor runner the most exposed in the field with his record.
And it's a single dart as well, which normally is pretty significant.
This is quite interesting, but O'Brien, I can't actually find a runner that he's had in the race in the last 10 years, which shows you that he doesn't really go for one in the Molecombe. And interestingly, in the Members Club and your paper today, you'd have picked up you're looking for the comments where's Aidan O'Brien, Chief Little Hawk. Loads of people would have gone on him at Royal Ascot. He said they took a long time to get over Royal Ascot, the market not giving him a little bit of love. Let's have a final update, Neil Hubbard, before I get ready to call the 2:45, the Molecombe Stakes.
3.2 Steel Bull, clear favourite, significantly 4.5. Sardinia Sunset 5.8. Double figures the rest, led by Night on Earth. Your way.
Okay, so who will I be looking for pace-wise here? Ross Brierley hoping Army of India will be up there. Deliver the Dream, I haven't mentioned that for Robert Cowell. He can be up there as well. International Dream, he's dropping down into Sardinia Sunset, you have to assume will be up there, and Wings of a Dove as well, another rag for Richard Spencer, who I mentioned won it with Bungle in the Jungle. Good luck wherever you're going for the 2:45. Time to fill your lungs, Dave Orton. This is going to be fast and furious. I'll go to the chaps midway. Let's hope for a clean break. A few more to go in, actually, Ross Brierley. Final thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, it could be quite quick. I'm hoping that Army of India gets that rail. Sardinia Sunset switches in behind. But yeah, the likes of Deliver the Dream, it's probably better than he got to show at Sandown. I think he went, he did a tap too much early on, but he's going to have to come from that 2 box to try and get to the front to make the pace.
We're going to have to mention one as well. The only one we haven't mentioned, because if you're a regular here on this show, you'll know when we don't mention one, 80-1 shots can go very, very close. Ben McDwee. Is that the way we said it? Ben McDwee for drawing in 3 from Kevin O'Ryan's.
Yeah, heavily backed the other day. Poor race, but very much respected trainer.
Kevin Stott on, the friend of the Racing Post here. Good luck, Kevin. Good luck wherever you're going. They're finally all in now. The 2-year-olds in. We like to see that. Let's hope for a clean break. The Molecombe Stakes 2020. Will it be Still Bull? And away we go. A little bit slow to break was Wings of Dove. RV and India, a little bit awkward start, but he does bag that rail. Slight difference of opinion, significantly from the 1 poke. He's going to tag on to Deliver the Dream, hoping for some pace, but it's all stand side. Ross Brierley.
Yeah, Army of India does get the rail, and he's kind of stacking them up. They're not going a mad gallop out in front. Deliver the Dream hasn't been able to get across, but it's still quick enough. Steel Bull's got a lovely sit, though, travelling really, really strongly.
Steel Bull really strong, 11-8, even money-ish.
Absolutely cruising. Will he get the split as we come 2 furlongs out? So Nightcap just starting to get lower. Significantly, the place late takes a bump there. It's all stand side at the moment. International Dream having to say, Colin Keane's absolutely swinging on Steel Bull. Will he get a split? Will he quicken? Ben McDwee, the one we mentioned. The rag for Kevin Stott makes a break. Here comes Steel Bull, significantly on the outside. Sardinia Sunset's there as well. Steel Bull looks like he might just get up here. Ben McDwee takes another go at him, but it's going to be one for Ireland. Steel Bull lands the gamble. Paul Keeley goes absolutely mad. Punters in clover. He got there in the end. A very, very tidy performance in the Molecombe.
Yeah, he got stuck in a pocket at a crucial point, but he had enough horse under him to get him out. And again, he's been well talked up. He did a good time last time out, but that inexperience almost cost him because he had to try and weave a passage through, which he's not had to do before. But clearly, he's got a real engine, and he stayed on strongly to beat Ben McDwee. It's a good job you did mention him, isn't it? Just before the off.
Amazing how that happens here on Racing Post Live, isn't it? With one we don't talk about has a really, really big say. So Kevin Stott must have thought, I think, a furlong out. Aye. Nothing coming up to me here. What I like about Ben McDwee's run, he was up there, wasn't he? He's fought them all off, and really the close has just come and done him. I think we're looking at probably a horse that will be looking at the middle part now in Steel Bull. You have to think that to have these two runs so close together, Michael O'Halloran, as Ross quite rightly said, has a habit of getting them ready first time out. This has run really, really well. Was that International Dream in third, Neil Hubbard?
Yeah, it was him in third, and Chief Littlehawk there in fourth ran his best race probably since debut, maybe. But yeah, the runner-up hit a low of even money in running, which you can see why, because it looked like he might just hang on. But even money was the lowest he hit, and Steel Bull didn't actually trade any bigger than what his SP was, really.
Punters hitting the bullseye with steely pockets, I'd imagine they have now. Some disappointments in the race then. Sardinia Sunset, bit keen early.
Yeah, couldn't get a decent position to settle. Yeah, she's really disappointed. That energy gauge quickly went out about a furlong and a half from home. I mean, significantly has been done by the draw, hasn't it?
It's the draw, wasn't it? Neil Hubbard, did you ever get worried about that bet being...
No, not at all. So we didn't, nothing ventured, nothing gained, so that's fine. We haven't lost any money there. But yeah, he was caught wide. It was sort of what we flagged up before, wasn't it? He couldn't get any cover. He hasn't run that bad, I don't think. He was probably in his first half dozen home. I think he's ran okay, considering the lack of cover he's got. So you can probably upgrade that performance. And actually, like I mentioned quickly then, but Chief Littlehawks ran a pretty decent race. He's maybe one not to quite give up on.
Each year, the Molecombe is one of these races where you maybe looking at the Ebor, some sales races there, things like that. The also rounds to fourth or fifth, so you think 100% 6 furlongs next time. And reversing that form at Sandown with significantly was International Dream, who Bruce Millington, as I mentioned, Joe Stalwart, gave a great shout to, and he absolutely motored in the final furlong. They're much quicker 5 furlongs here. If you watch him halfway, he's rowing away on him. Paddy Mathers there, but they've got one for 6 furlongs. Look out for him at York.
Yeah, again, that's the second time that he's done his best work late. But yeah, just watching the race back again, I mean, a few other points to take out. Huge confidence boost for Colin Keane as well. I mean,
oh yeah,
really is.
Here comes the Siskin. Happy days! It's going to be the double barrier. Great friend of the show, big hitter from Betfair, tweeted this morning. I saw him. He basically said, "This is where Colin Keane arrives on the world scene with a double. First leg goes in. Punters, you must be absolutely over the moon with that. Layers, did you have a go at him? Did you think that maybe he wouldn't get out of that pocket in running?" Expert ride from one of the very top pilots in the next 10 years, Colin Keane, no doubt. Steel Bull like that. Night on Earth was a little bit disappointing, my selection. Perhaps a horse that needs to get his own way a little bit stiffer there. Apart from that, I suppose Army of India, just lather with sweat, is going to be back to the all-weather.
He'll be back to the all-weather, and yeah, he'll, I don't know, there's a few listed and group races around Kempton, isn't there, as the year progresses?
Be quite a nice all-weather sprinter over time. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Steel Bull, because owned by Michael Callaghan as well, isn't it?
It's got to be middle part. Oh, I see. You think there are going to be some offers coming in?
Well,
yeah,
you
of course.
would think, wouldn't you?
They don't often stay. Well, they don't often stay in these colours a lot. I wonder if Blue de Vega was ever in these colours. Yeah, you'll see the blue colours with the red epaulets and the red cap. Just watching them all, I can see it in the corner of my eye. She's got a lovely attitude there. Still a little bit of greenness as well. It's not an easy course, is it? When you travel, and then have to dig when something goes clear. I think nice.
Interesting as well. The front two were both having just their second starts here, so the least experienced pair in the field actually finished first and second. So and both previous winners as well. So you can.
And we've got an eye catcher in third, so we're being positive about the Molecombe.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Try and get the time up from the guys in the studio. Rob Lee will be on that shortly, because this would think that was a proper fast and furious race, wouldn't it? We'll see if the sprint course is a little bit quicker on the stand side. Of course, don't forget, we've got the Stewards Cup coming up on Saturday, the cavalry charge over 6 furlongs. You've got the Woking at Royal Ascot. The Stewards Cup is often the one because the form is bedded down. Oh, Paul Keeley's going to be in for that. Will it be stand side? The draw will be on Thursday. Slowed by 1.69 seconds. Thanks, Rob, in the studio for that. So they did break a minute as expected. And you have to say that's a good ground time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and again, I don't think there's any real excuses for horses given the way the track's riding. I mean, obviously those first few were a little bit slower on the clock, but it just seems good ground to me.
On the opening day, the slightly slower parts of the track were supposed to be 3 to 2 furlongs. You imagine that's probably on the far side, isn't it? And also that lower bend, Neil Hubbard. So
it was interesting actually when I looked back at the course map yesterday and tried to relate it to Space Blue's performance, because it looked like he made his move probably on the softest bit of the track yesterday, didn't he? Which you can probably upgrade a little bit.
yes,
with that in mind.
Space Blues, our sizzling Lennox winner yesterday. Neil Hubbard was all over that. They're talking about going for Group 1 targets at Prix de Guise, 6.5 furlongs at Derville.
Yeah, it looks ideal for him. I think the trainer, Charlie Appleby, was just saying as long as it doesn't come too soon, but he would have known that before the race. It's not like the dates have moved. So, but yeah, on the face of it...
You don't know how he's going to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you with Space Blues yesterday, Ross?
No, I was all over Duke of Hazzard, so I was thrilled to see him come down.
Full seldom differ. I was with you as well on that one. Yeah, I think the Duke ran really, really well, didn't he? Behind Mahatha last time, he did that form and he just wasn't quick enough to beat Space Blues. So we are going to move on. A really good Malcolm Stakes there for you. Again, before we get to the Sussex, let us know how you get on there. Do you follow him? Paul Keeley, really, really confident in the paper this morning, wasn't he? And indeed last week, if you were listening to him as well. Keels, if you're listening out there, happy days. I know it was a disappointing first day for you. You're back, my man. You can't keep a good man down. Colin Keane has just ridden the first leg of what I'm hoping will be a double. How has the market reacted to this? Let's move on to the race of the day then. The race of the season is the 3:15, the Sussex Stakes. Where's Siskin in the market, Neil Hubbard?
Top of the tree, 3.55, so around the 5 to 2 mark. Mahatha, 3.85, so he's tightened up an awful lot. He has Kamiko 6.8, Circus Maximus 8, along with Wichita, Vatican City 18.5, and the outsider San Donato 55. But not without a squeak, I don't think. But Siskin, is your favourite at 3.55.
Yeah, so listen, that sums up what sort of a race it is, because San Donato, as you said, unconsidered in the market, in fact, right out, and yet on his return, he bumped into one, didn't he, in France? Well, in fact, it was Mahatha on his return, sorry, not in France, it was at Ascot. So listen, why on earth is he such a big price? Is it just because you can't see him winning out there? First thing to say about this race, guys, from a betting perspective, oh, what a shame we've not got any other horse. Keith Melrose, I thought would be a great piece. Our betting editor in the paper today, he went, any other horse will do. Could be big bucks.
Yeah, where's Michael Atwater with a 70 rated horse running out their back?
It's worth bearing in mind on the exchange though, there is a 3 places market. So if you want to back win and place and get 3 places, then the exchange is the place to do it.
Now, before we go to Neil Hubbard for his play, what are we? We're around about 20 minutes away from the Sussex Stakes. Can you wait? I can't wait. Let's have a little bit of help with the stat pack. Kevin Morley's trends section helps you out in the paper there, doesn't it? And a reminder there. There's a couple that I took from that. Listen, 9 of the last 12 have been favs. Foolish boys. Siskin's going to do the business. I know he is.
And they've all been
Prince Khalid Abdullah. Prince Khalid Abdullah, tied winning most owner of the race. Let's start off with Siskin then. Come on, let's do this. When he won the Irish Guineas, you just knew, didn't you, that it was all about the Sussex with him. Mainly because of Prince Khalid Abdullah, Frankel, of course, and so many others throughout the years that have gone for this race. Frankel was just absolutely amazing in this, wasn't he? But we knew this was going to be the case. He's fresh. He's fresher than any other horse in the race. I'm looking at that, just slightly more so than Circus Maximus. And yet, he was... Was it because he was backed into such a short price before Mahatha came out and did the demolition job in the Summer Mile at Ascot? Was that why people were thinking, oh, I can't be with him at that price? Because he's now gone out to 9 to 4. That's why I've gone. I must admit straight away after the Irish Guineas, I thought Sussex all the way. I will be with him. Started to get a bit about the price. Wasn't sure about it. Paul Keeley, for example, Racing Post's worst price he'd ever seen. He said. Now he's out to around about 9 to 4, slightly bigger than that. Neil was saying, what on earth are you place laying this for?
Well, just because, I mean, there's a couple of things. The one box, a slight concern. The Curragh, he got out. He managed to find a gap and he quickened up. But he was against inferior horses to what he's going to face today. And time again, we've seen at Goodwood a horse. I mean, we saw it yesterday, Safe Voyage and Duke of Hazzard. We were talking about the Space Blues race. When they got out, he'd already gone. So there is a potential that that's going to happen here, especially as you've got two late closers like Mahatha and Kamiko, who might well be, switched off down the outside and come in for a late burst. So the other thing is, he's just not being a punter who starts off with speed figures. He's still not put a top class one in yet.
I'd counter that. I'm using something called Split Second on Raceway Interactive, and I've got him top. I've got him top from the Irish Guineas and from his 2-year-old form. We're talking about a horse that we went for the middle part. He's a sprinter. He's quicker than all bar one horse in this race, who I think he probably is still quicker than, and that's Mahatha. He's definitely quicker than Kamiko.
If he's a sprinter, then what's he doing over a mile?
He's bred to be running over a mile too. He's a freak.
Interesting
the fact
market.
That he was running in these races as a 2-year-old.
He
is an absolute freak. He stank in the market on the Irish Guineas, and he came and won. I was so impressed with him that day. He expertly got out of a real pocket trouble there. Everyone was saying Vatican City, who reopposed, was as unlucky. That wasn't the case. If you watch it back, Siskin, he had the inside all the way around the Curragh, a stiffer mile. Ross Brierley, you are having a shocker, let me tell you.
He hasn't raced yet.
Neil Hubbard.
I was going to say that interesting market move. Mahatha is now favourite for this, or joint favourite now. Siskin's just come back, but Mahatha, they're both 3.55. Here, which is around the 5-2, a little bit bigger than 5-2. So joint favourites at the minute, but Siskin is definitely the weaker of the two at the top of the market.
Mahatha has a legion of fans. Before we go to perhaps one of the biggest ones out there, Ross Brierley, tell us about your play, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, I'm going to lay Siskin here. I'm going to put in at around 9-4 though, because he is near, like, everything has its price, right? And Dave, exactly what you're saying. When I first looked
convincing
at
you, Neil, I can tell.
A little bit, but when I first looked at this race, he was around the sort of 6-4, 7-4 mark, and that was way too short. So I've had that in my head that I'm happy to take him on. He's now, getting out to a price that is respectable enough. But I'm going to put in to lay him anyway, but I'm going to do it at around the 9-4 mark. So it's going to be unmatched, but I might just keep that live for when the race starts, because that's the sort of price I'm happy to lay. So he's 3.6 there now. We want 3.25, which is around the 9-4 mark. And we'll take £50 bet on Siskin there. So we'll place that bet, we'll confirm that bet. It's unmatched, but I'm just going to already tick keep there, because he might hit that price anyway pre-race. And if not, it's not going to require that much movement as soon as the race goes in play for that to get matched. So that's a price I'm happy to take him on. Can he win it? Of course he can. But at that price, I'm quite happy to have the field on my side.
Can he win it? Yes, he can. Of course, we know what I think then, so come on.
I was enjoying Neil's catchphrase, which has developed throughout the day.
I thought that as soon as I said it, I was like, I've said that about it.
You do come up with some absolute gems. All right, Ross Brierley, let's come to your play. It is a place lay of Siskin, right?
Well, I two. I got back Mahatha and a place later Siskin, just because, like I said, I could see the way the race was unfolding. But again, once he starts to drift out, you start to reassess the prices. However, there's just there's a certain amount of hype about him, obviously.
Mahatha?
No, about Siskin.
I could counter Mahatha as well, but I'll get to that.
Yeah. No, whatever I say in this race, you are going to say the opposite.
Even when he wins, I'll still be right. What a surprise.
I don't know if he was the right horse.
But listen, Mahatha, this is where...
Go on, tell me why I'm wrong,
This is why I love this race. It reminded me a little bit of Cheltenham. When we did our debut RP Live show, I said Cheltenham is the one week of the year where you have to go against horses that you love. Okay,
Yep.
Because we all follow these horses, we all back these horses, and then it comes to the Cheltenham week, and you've got to, you're almost like, are you with or against? And when you're against, you've got to really be against them. This Sussex Stakes is like that, right? Everyone loves Mahatha. What's not to love about him? One of the eye catchers of the century in the Queen Anne on his return. Blistering last time at Ascot when Dane O'Neill came wide. The confidence, what I love about Marcus Treconning, Derby winning trainer, he's come back into the big time with this horse, hasn't he? He's had a good week already. He's had the first and the second of the last two races yesterday. Hamdan Al Maktoum's given him the stock to go to war with again. £8 to Siskin, I think, will be troublesome. And the handicapper agrees with me because Mahatha's got an official rating of 120, whereas Siskin, and again, we still don't know quite so much about Siskin. He's not had the chance to run that figure yet. This is his race. He's only £4 behind him. So the handicapper's thinking, why on earth is Siskin at 9-4? So listen, I love Mahatha, but in this race, I've got to be against him.
But I still don't think we've seen the best of Mahatha. Because, I mean...
Every chance. So you think he's 125 odds, do you?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, when he won the Greenham in a speed figure that I had to go back and do again just to check whether it was...
Would he have won the Guineas that year?
I think he's absolutely every chance. He would have been right up there, bang in the mix. Absolutely, would have been up there. He had a severe stone bruise. It put him off for the entire season. He came back at the back end of the season in terrible ground at Ascot in what was
actually ran okay, didn't he?
He ran a blinder after that absence against some race-fit horses. I mean, like I said, King of Change, who was third in that Guineas, won that race. So, and he was only a couple of lengths behind. So yes, he could have easily won that Guineas. The Queen Anne was a nightmare, wasn't it? They went a dawdle out in front. I mean, we were sat in here going, they're not going any pace. The front two battled it out. It's just that sweeping move down the outside. I think it could be something special. And he's a proper Jim Crowley horse as well.
Okay, I hate to counter what you're saying again, but everything you say,
I disagree.
But it's almost a bit like you've got the flag for Frankel. Do you know what I mean? I've got the Paco Boy flag, or whatever it was, you know. And it is a Mahatha versus Siskin. The fact that Kamiko, the English Guineas winner, is around about 11-2 and being unconsidered after his run in the Derby sums this up. Circus Maximus got so many friends out there, isn't he? Becoming a bit of an iron horse. Ryan Moore, Aidan O'Brien, 7-1. Disappointing in the race last year, however. Is this his track? Wichita, no Pinatubo this time. He's a little bit fresher, isn't he, than Kamiko? He's got that Palace Pier line. Could Palace Pier actually be the miler that we're looking for in the pack, the top of the pack? Vatican City, such a big price at 16-1. San Donato, couple of lengths off Mahatha last time. That was his return. Yet he can improve. Why is he 50-1? Listen, I'm outnumbered in the studio. One man who's going to be with me, DJ.
This is going to be some race. Definitely the race of the week, probably the race of the season. And I think Siskin can make it 6 out of 6 for Gerlines and Colin Keane. Look, this is by far his toughest test. He's got plenty to do to beat Mahatha, Circus Maximus, Kamiko, Wichita. But I just think with Siskin, I think a track like Goodwood, it suits speed horses with that instant acceleration at the 2 furlong pole that you're really going to need. And I think Siskin is the fastest of these. I think he's going to travel strongly into the race. And I thought he won the Irish Guineas quite convincingly in the end. I thought he was well on top of the line when he did get out. I think it's going to be a similar type of ride by Colin Keane here. I think he's going to need to smuggle him into the race. But when it comes to that 2 furlong pole, when you're wanting your horse to quicken and put the race to bed, I think Siskin is going to be the horse to do that. He's favoured, but he's favoured for a reason. He's unbeaten. We still don't know how good he is. And I think Siskin can give Gerlines and Colin Keane another big winner.
2-2, I'm feeling like I've got a bit of backup all of a sudden. Happy days. Siskin, so he's unbeaten as well, for goodness sake. I'm not suggesting he's Frankel, but this is, I just can't work out why he's not got as many fans so far. So I'm happy to hear that DJ says that. Just watching them go around in the pre-parade ring at Glorious Goodwood. The sun is shining, but I tell you what, Mahatha looked absolutely fantastic when we saw him go past. The coat is there. And Marcus Dragonic is indeed confident. Let's talk about tactics then, just the 7 runners. But we have 3 of them from the Ballydoyle Battalion, as we call them. We're expecting Circus Maximus, a horse that likes to go out and do it. In this race last year, he was a little bit disappointed. Surely they're going to try and make it a bit of a test. They've also got Wichita in there, though, who looks a bit like a sort of 10 furlong horse to me now, and Vatican City, who was tried in the Derby. Neil Hubbard, how's this going to be run?
Yeah, well, Ryan Moore, writing in his Betfair blog today, actually says he would quite happily have ridden any of these 3 runners for Aidan O'Brien. So in his mind, I guess, there isn't an awful lot between them. But yeah, Circus Maximus, you know, he's the sort of horse that is for me, too big a price because of his style of racing, I think. He doesn't do anything flashy, does he? He's just a grinder and goes out there, and they're not necessarily the types of horses that excite punters as such.
You don't want to eyeball him, though, do you, at all? Which is what...
I just think this market just generally...
Terabellum did, of course, at Royal Ascot, yeah.
I think that, I mean, like, there's coming up for £1.5 million matched on this race. So you can't say the market has it wrong because there's too much money in it. But it's just a really interesting market that you've got Kamiko, who's 3rd favourite in here, who isn't that much shorter than Wichita. You've got Vatican City, comparison price to Siskin seems wrong. Like, I'm not saying he's going to reverse the form, but just the discrepancy in price is too much. You've got Circus Maximus.
Hang on, you agree with him?
It's how you need to deliver it, Ross. You've got Circus Maximus, who's what, won 3 or 4 Group 1s, and he's 8.8. ahead of like twice the price of Mahatha. I think the whole market, like you can't say the market's wrong because there's too much money in it, but it's a really interesting market that you could challenge. You know, if you had a view on this, you know, you can probably get a price on something here.
So you think it should be 6 to 4 each of 7?
Yeah. No, I just think it's like just the price comparison.
I disagree with that as well.
But the price comparison
nonsense.
between Siskin and Vatican City is an interesting one. Like 18.5 on Vatican City, who's bred to be a top-class miler.
Yeah.
Like, if he won it, you wouldn't be surprised Vatican City winning this.
I wonder if it's William Buick and O'Brien. They don't really have the association, do they? Tactics are fascinating because the 3 Ballydoyle runners are in the outside stalls as well, which makes it really interesting. And they all like to sort of get on with it.
Do you think they're going to form some sort of protective barrier?
A little, yes, so Siskin can't get through.
Can't get out, yeah.
And Mohath
exactly,
can go around the outside again. Yeah, you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well. I'm a Watford fan. We've gone down, so I'm just getting ready for our locking on season. That is ahead. That's all it is.
That's fine. It's the mid-table obscurity. Welcome to the club, Dave.
I'm happy to be there. No VAR. Happy days. Something else that I want to touch on in just a sec. Let's remind you, though, to send in your social comments. Where are they for the Sussex Stakes? Get them in. Let us know. Hashtag RP Live. Myself, Dave Orton, Ross Brierley and Neil Hubbard. We're flying by. The shows are absolutely sizzling pace so far today. We're loving it. We know you love it too. The feedback is great. Had some really touching feedback yesterday when Tony Ennis was on. Not so sure about the Sheffield Wednesday fan that's joined us. Chef, Yorkshire's finest though, Ross Brierley here. And I've got something for you after this social comment that comes off Ross Brierley about Cameco. Let's see what the social comment is though. As if by magic it will appear very shortly on the screen. I've done them. Carey Skates comes a regular one. Rob Lee, Red Pen must do better. Siskin, bet of the week. Aye, Carey Skates coming in with me, a regular contributor. Have we got any more coming up? I'll be here in my ear if they have, and I'll pop back to it in the meantime.
Not now you've just had a go at the producer. He's not putting any more up.
There are 3 of them. It depends, you know. It depends which one you like on the best of times. Cameco. Let's go for Cameco. Now, pace-wise and tactics-wise, having run in the Derby, and he's not, I don't think he's what you would call an electric turn-of-foot miler. If you look, he ground it out a little bit in the Guineas, didn't he? Albeit in tremendously game-starn and had to switch for his run. So can see him actually upholding that form with Wichita to a certain extent. However, Oisin Murphy's last 12 rides, we're talking about a guy that win, ping. We know what it's like at Royal Ascot. We've got on SDS's back a little bit during Royal Ascot. Loads of punters did. When you're feeling the pressure all of a sudden, Cameco, this is huge for this horse. I don't think Oisin's going to play it cool on this, is what I'm trying to say from stall 2.
I mean, you were saying about his rides, but I mean, looking at them, you know, he's had an 80 to 1 shot, 150 to 1 shot, a 40 to 1 shot. The lowest price he's ridden so far at Goodwood was more.
But it could be 1,000 to 1 shot. It could be odds on it. You're not getting over the line, are you? You know. Once again. Wait,
let me just test this. It's Wednesday.
It's Sussex Day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It's the Sussex.
He wants a pace. He definitely wants a pace. He wants something to aim for. He's going to come down the centre of the track with one withering run. He doesn't. You're right. He doesn't have that electric turn of
So
foot.
what does Oisin Murphy do from stall 2? Is he surely he's going to be having? He's going to want to get first run on Siskin, right?
I think he's going to. I think if I was on him from box 2, given how he rides, I would just be as confident as I possibly could, and switch out the back and because
would you be looking for Circus Maximus early? Do you think?
The last thing you want with a horse who doesn't have an instant change of gear is to get stopped in your run. So I think he's going to. The clean run is the most important thing to him, I think. So
he's the one that I'm dead against, actually. As much as I really, really admire the horse, he's the one that I'm against, and today I'm having lump on Cameco, basically. Right, here we go. Let's get some socials then before we go to Neil Hubbard as they go down on track. Can see Cameco taking a nice keen hold. Xander 6, welcome back to the show, Xander. Siskin, Circus Maximus straight forecast. Very interesting indeed. Harshad S, welcome Harshad. Circus Maximus, yes indeed, a bigger price than we were expecting. Dan the Man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good to have you back, Dan. First time this week I've seen your name. I'm not so sure on Siskin myself. He says this is his proper test. Not going to argue with Dan the Man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've got one more time. Hassan Murad. Welcome, Hassan. Wichita. Don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on Wichita. Oh, we're looking for the lineman. No, thank you. All guys, we're great to have you on the show. Love to hear your comments. Good to get your shout outs in. All the best.
Wichita's been a bit unfortunate, I think, this season. He's been on the heels of an electric pace at Newmarket, and he's only got beaten a neck. He's then also did too much at Ascot on the round track, which doesn't suit front runners either. I mean, arguably, this doesn't really suit prominent runners. He's also got a stablemate who will do a very similar thing. So I think Wichita might have a good autumn because he's going to find races that struggle for him so far, and then people will write him off, and he might come back. But we have to talk about San Donato as well, because this is how deep this race is. There's an argument to say that one of the best pieces of form in this race is his unlucky third to Persian King at the back end of last season. Well, it was the back end of his season. It was middle of summer, but he didn't race again. It was his first run back. Mahatha had already had a run at Ascot. He was running on the spot a little bit as Mahatha went past him, but he came home nicely to finish second. We were talking about that handicap earlier at Goodwood. This is how warm this race is. This is a proper Group 1.
And he's 50 to 1. That's a remarkable price.
There's been a little bit of money for him from 50s into like 34, 36, and you can certainly make the case. Like a third in a French Guineas behind Persian King, who was heralded as, well, I mean, he's on, not on the comeback trail, but he's a very, very good horse. And that was a really good run from San Donato.
He's been nibbled at now, Neil,
he definitely has, into the mid sort of 30s, 34, 35 to 1. Siskin is now clear favourite, 3.5.
Are we going to have a clear fav? It looked like
Mahatha
Mahatha it's going to be Siskin, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mahatha's now out to 100 to 30. Siskin really solid now at 5 to 2. Actually, Mahatha did actually go 9 to 4. So he actually has gone almost the shortest of the pair since sort of betting started to heat up. But now all of a sudden Siskin is the one who is the more solid.
Yeah, and the Guineas winner, Kamiko. He's named after a tortoise. It was a great little social media piece. Don't know if you saw that, tortoise in the hair. It was Sheikh Fahad's wife who decided that he was they only bought him 90,000. I say only 90,000.
Is that why you're saying he doesn't have a turn of foot because he's named after a tortoise?
That's what he's named after. Apparently, Japanese for tortoise.
There you go. Who knew? I'm not going to argue with you.
It's a great piece. David Redvers, the Qatar racing manager. Check out his social. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I quite like him here. I like everything you've said, David, is very true. But I mean, like when he ran in the Derby, like a lot of people were against him because he wouldn't see out the trip. And now it's like, oh, he's come back. Well, he's not quick enough for this. So it's like he's been completely pigeonholed as a 10 furlong horse. That's it. He's never ran over the trip.
It's hard to name a horse that's come back from a Derby to win this, isn't it? It's very difficult, actually.
It's a rare move.
It is a rare move.
Yeah,
and this is a quick mile. This is a quickish mile anyway. And I don't know. I just find it difficult. The Gurkha won it, of course, in 2016. But he's a horse we might step up, but never did. So
he's the opposite of everyone said after Vatican City's run behind Siskin. Everyone said this horse will be much better over a trip. He's a Derby winner for you. Then he's
Too Darn Hot, of course, was one that they thought might go up, wasn't it? And then the Dante run didn't work. So look, but Kamiko, this would be something pretty special.
I do think it's fair to say if you compare Kamiko to Siskin, you would say Siskin is your sprinter to miler. So let's say 7 furlongs to a mile type horse, and you'd say Kamiko is more your 8 furlongs and up. I think that's totally fair. But we're talking about 2,000 guineas winner here. You know what I mean? Who's now back over the trip.
Yeah. Let's have a little look at them. I can just see on our screens here, we've got the beauty of it. We can see them going behind. It's just about to go in. Really looking forward to calling this race of the year on the flat so far. Happy days, coronavirus. We're getting through, aren't we? We've got fans going back onto the
just happy days coronavirus is not a sentence anyone's ever said.
1-1 for Ross Brierley there. Happy day, I suppose he's not happy.
You've done all your good work there, Dave.
What I, of course, meant. We got fans coming back on the track on Saturday. Saturday's going to be a day of utter celebration, isn't it? This race is for celebration. Sit back, enjoy it wherever you've gone. We'll get the race reaction through. We'll see what the market's doing in running. We'll try and get you on the winner if that's your thing in running. Oh, 1 or 2 more to go in. Neil Hubbard, final moves.
Yeah, 3.45 Siskin, so 5 to 2-ish.
Mahatha looks really weak.
Yeah, 4.4, so he's out to 7 to 2 now. So he has been the friendless one, shall we say, since we started talking about it.
He is slightly shorter in the place market, though, wondering, again, maybe people are thinking that there's a potential for Siskin to get stopped in that run.
Ooh, Oh, putting the cat amongst the pigeons. You're really out to get this one. So look, whether you're with Siskin or against it, good luck. It is the 3:15. It is the Sussex Stakes. And they are off and running in the Sussex Stakes. A nice level break. Maybe San Donato, not quite as well as Andrew Izzani might have liked. Who's going to take it up then? The battalion are coming across. Kamiko a little bit keen. He's right up there. As expected, Circus Maximus looking for Siskin. A little bit keen out the back, but got the inside run. Interestingly, Colin Keane coming just one off the fence already. Mahatha are beautiful. The catbird seat, Ross Brierley.
Absolutely perfect sit there, isn't it, for Jim Crowley? Colin Keane a little bit slowly away on Siskin, but I think that might well have been designed as the last thing you want to do is from box one is come out and get crushed against that rail early. Circus Maximus getting a relatively easy time of it out in front, but then he did last year and he still got pegged by Too Darn Hot. But Mahatha, perfect position there. He's off the rail. He's not going to get boxed in. I'd say that might well happen from here on in.
Rotten passage for Wichita. Has he gone out in the market, Neil? Kamiko got a lovely spot as well. They're just quickening it up around about 4 furlongs out.
Yeah, we got matched on Siskin at 9-4, but Mahatha now is favourite on the machine. Oh, there's sort of joint favourites, him and Siskin, both joint favourites now. Kamiko a lot shorter though.
Vatican City going to get first run. San Donato coming up on the outside. This is where the business end comes to in the 2020 Sussex Stakes. Circus Maximum finding it a bit short. Kamiko stuck on the inside. Mahatha's not going to get a run. Siskin absolutely cruising. What's he going to find? Mahatha gets onto the back of him. Vatican City's gone. This is where the big two are going to lock arms. A furlong out. Siskin goes for it. Mahatha's got him in his sights. Kamiko's got absolutely no run whatsoever. Will the weight come into it? Siskin finds a little bit more. Mahatha's coming for it. Circus Maximus coming back. Kamiko coming back. This is all about the big ones. Looks like Mahatha's going to get there. Yeah. Ross Brierley absolutely emotional. Mahatha does it for Marcus Dragoning. Circus Maximus a huge run. Didn't quite get home. Siskin. Kamiko a terrible run. Unbelievable scenes. You were right.
I can't show your hand. I'm not allowed to show you. I'm not allowed to shake hands. Bump elbows there.
Why not? Fair play,
enough.
Ross Brierley. Happy days. I'll finally agree. You were right. What a race it had. Absolutely everything, didn't it? I just hope you enjoy that coverage out there. The voice is nearly gone.
I mean, the race we wanted, wasn't it? The race we wanted. I mean,
It was deeply impressive, that finishing burst, wasn't it?
Do you know what your words that echoed before that? Siskin is a sprinter, and he was up there. You're right. He travelled like.
How's he won over a mile at the Curragh then?
No,
Unbelievable.
But I'm saying he's travelled there like a speed horse, and Mahatha has come through late on. He was a little. Siskin got first run on.
It was messy. If you look where Mahatha's come from, Mahatha's had to come from the rail to come around the entire field and come down the middle. In terms of like ground covered.
I mean, but the way he did it at Ascot, when he swept round the field, and he went once and then he went twice, which was pretty impressive. Yeah, and he's had to do the same thing again.
Kamiko's been mullered in the run, hasn't he?
And when you said like he ran no race, I do think he's been sort of cut up a couple of times there because he's there in with a shout there, and he takes a pull there as well.
He's basically finished. Yeah. He's finished with loads of horse under him in fourth there. Kamiko, not the day today. You were saying pre-race, Oshie Murphy would probably come down the outside. He just couldn't get out at all, could he? 3 horses had to switch. Circus Maximus, take a bow because it's the third place. Keith Melrose, go back to our betting editor in the Post. Any other horse to make it, 8 runners, and that is the each way horse of a lifetime, and gutsy run from him.
In fact, we were saying before, Derby to Sussex, Circus Maximus did it last year, in fact, and only just got chin, but he's such a tough horse, but he's just run into a proper animal there.
When you talk about that 3 places market, though, he was 11-10 to finish in the first 3 Circus Maximus there.
Wow.
Siskin just out of the places as well.
You have to get that one in.
Perfect race.
And we got some emotion out of Ross Brierley, you wouldn't believe it. The boys that do the clips are like, happy days, finally.
I'm human.
Neil Hubbard, story of the market.
Yeah, so Siskin hit a low of 1.41 in running. You can definitely see why. So our lay of him at 3.25 got matched, so that's happy days. So that's a winner in the book. Circus Maximus chinned at 1.95, so he went odds on as well. So 2 odds on losers in that race. Mahatha hit a high of 18. Again, you can see why, because he was in trouble, it looked like.
Yes. Yep.
And a shout out for San Donato, who hit a low of 4-1 in running, but he's run a big race.
Yeah, and he kind of run to that Ascot form as he Duke of Hazzard ran so well in the Lennox Stakes. He was third to Mahatha. That summer mile form now does look absolutely sizzling.
He's got races in him over a mile.
We're watching back the final furlong. We've got 6 abreast. San Donato just backs out of it. Wichita had the horrible rough passage early. No cover. He backs out of it. The big 3 have gone for it. Kamiko's snatching up. I don't know. Siskin hasn't really stopped, actually, to be honest. He hasn't really stopped. He just cocked his head a little bit. It'll be fascinating to see in your papers, in your members club later, just what Colin Keane and Ger Lyons give you in the debrief here. We know what Marcus Draconic, in fair play to Marcus, he's been so confident. There's the result of the race of the year. Whew, absolutely. The race of the last couple of years, I think, certainly the best Sussex for a long time. Mahatha sees off. Well done, the Legion of fans. You got it absolutely right. You must be absolutely delighted with that SP. Circus Maximus, the bravest, one of the bravest horses in training in second. Gives it a real solid line of form. And Siskin, do not give up on him yet. I wonder whether the track might be to blame. He just cocked his head a little bit. Was it still greenness? Interesting.
Well, here's a question for you as well. Did Colin Keane get a bit too giddy
Jiggy,
there?
yes,
did he get a bit too eager? Because he had to go from that one box. This is a big move here.
He's made a humongous move. He was actually
That's
last
in the
about
hot
2
part of the
furlongs out,
race,
wasn't
that.
he? Yeah, absolutely. And he's gone past Mahatha like he's a slow horse.
It's almost
Wow.
like Mahatha's sort of, I wouldn't say he encountered loads of trouble, but the fact he had to check for a stride and come wide may have actually helped him.
Yeah.
Because Siskin then had first run on him and Mahatha's mowed him down late. But I think Kamiko, you can probably upgrade his run a little bit. I don't think it's the trip.
Again, he's got twice.
Yeah, I don't think it's the trip that's
The guys in the gallery are saying to me
him.
this is a concerted move by Jim Crowley. He's waited for Siskin to go past him. I'm sort of, believe it or not, I'm kind of agreeing with
Don't
him.
you
You won't
dare.
believe it. I'd love a bandwagon, and I'm jumping onto one. No, I think your analysis might be absolutely right. Siskin's move in that hot part. Look out for your sectionals. The turf tracks will show you that. It's going to be absolutely red hot, isn't it? What do they do with him now? Surely he's not just a 7 furlong horse. Will you be looking at some of the top sprints around the world now? Breeders' Cup, imagine him there. He'd be absolutely fantastic.
It'd be interesting Breeders' Cup Mile, though. Him in Breeders' Cup Mile against Pinatubo would be really
I
good.
think that despite the fact that Siskin has come third there, you're talking about Circus Maximus and Mahatha. We are looking at red hot form.
I mean, Kamiko is the unlucky horse. You were saying about Oisin Murphy, the decision he had to make. Colin Keane potentially made the wrong decision, but at least he made a decision that you cannot sit down that rail and wait for that gap because it never ever comes at Goodwood.
He's just had Circus Maximus in front of him the whole way, can't get past.
And
By
then
the time he does, Siskin comes into him a little bit. It's a concertina. Good night, Vienna.
I don't think the 1 mile trip has cost Kamiko
No,
there.
not
But
at
what
all,
I
no.
would say is probably a more stiff 1 mile because there was perhaps an opportunity on the rail for him to go through. And if he doesn't have quite that turn of foot to take that opportunity, but something it's quite easy for him to say like the Juddmonte or something like that is an obvious one. But something like over a mile, the QE2 at the end of the year could be perfect for Kamiko.
The QE2 could be an absolute blinder.
Yeah. I think Vatican City was a big disappointment there. But
A strange run from him. He allowed Siskin. Well, didn't quite allow Siskin. Siskin got first run on him at the Curragh. This time he attacked, didn't he? Maybe they think he's a horse is going to want 10 furlongs.
Yeah, or they might just need to keep hold of him a little bit more and ride him with a little bit more restraint when he's like number 1 in the race, not number 2 or 3. But just a quick word on Sandonato, who ran really well, as we say. He touched 4-1.
You're taken by that run, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, I am, and I think he could be because he's dropped right out there, and his finishing position perhaps doesn't quite tell the whole story of the potential there. He could be a horse that they travel with, for some of the mile races in America and stuff like that. The sort of like lesser Grade 1 races. You know what I mean? Those sorts of things. Yeah, I think there's definitely races in him. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, a nice shout. That was the first shout from Woodbine here on RB Love. The boys in the studio are absolutely delighted. Elliot Hackney, one of our senior producers. I won't tell you how much he's won, but it's fair to say he's getting in lunch again tomorrow. So happy days, Elliot. Lovely. Listen, what did you make it about it? Were you Mahatha? I know he's got so many fans out there. I was getting texted last night saying, I'm a massive fan of Mahatha, make sure you're with him, Dave. Well, I'm going to keep the faith with Siskin all the way. But
he's a 125 horse on the back.
That makes him a 125 off Ross Brierley. Oh my goodness me! Let's hope Sheffield Wednesday aren't right against Watford next season. This is not going well, is it?
Don't worry, Dave. We're
I want
both
to talk about
mid.
Kamiko. Let us know what you're thinking out there. How do you dissect that race? What are we going to do with these horses going forward? Let us know. Get your comments in below for the panellists and the week going forward. We're still not even quite at halfway. Fantastic at Glorious Goodwood. It doesn't get any more glorious than that. Let's just talk about Kamiko quickly, guys. I think they'll be really disappointed maybe with today, But surely they'll go to the car park now, have a glass, David Redford, shake for hard, sit back. Oshie Murphy will give you the debrief and said, look, I finished with loads of horse under me. Coming back from a derby, you never know where it will quite bottom them. It was a really weird derby, wasn't it? You've got to be looking at the Champion Stakes now. Obviously, they're going to target that. I mean, you think of Roaring Lion and the horses that they targeted at that meeting. Could he even be a Champion Stakes horse, Neil Hubbard?
Yeah, I think like the races like the Juddmarn, Irish champion, and then on Champions Day at Ascot, depending on how those other, like those 2 runs, if he goes there, you've then got the choice of either coming back for the QE2 or staying at the Champion Stakes. So, there'll be other days for him. I don't think he's lost, like his reputation hasn't been dented there at all. He's still a top-class horse who's won a Guineas, and there'll be other days for him.
I cannot wait to see the time of this race. We're talking about the 125. Let's see what the Racing Post Racing Boys give this chap. It's going to be up there, isn't it? I think Circus Maximus, has definitely run to his mark. That's 120. Considering the run he had, you've got to put him 3 or 4 lengths ahead of him, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, since he won the Greenham, nothing's gone right for him. It was only last time out at Ascot, so we've essentially got a 4-year-old who's missed pretty much an entire year. So we still don't know. I was talking about this yesterday, that the amount of times we're talking about Stradivarius and Enable. Thoroughbred racehorses don't peak at 3 and 4 physically. So a horse of his nature, he could easily go on to be a dominant force over the next 12 months.
It's interesting that they haven't gelded him as well. You know what I mean? They've kept him as a colt, so they knew that they knew his potential there. But I mean,
showcasing it's a big thing from the 2-year-old Al Kumate that won the maiden yesterday. Was Al Kumate? He's a showcasing as well, isn't he? So they're showcasing the sire. And Marcus Dragoni, great to see him back in the big time. Sir Percy, of course, the Derby winner, but he's had loads of good horses over the years.
The older horses have finished.
He's always threatened to have that top miler, isn't he? And now he's got one. It's great to see. We could be seeing this guy at the Breeders' Cup, couldn't we? Shake hand down as runners over there, of course.
Well, I think obviously for him, he's got the Mulan and the QE2 are the obvious ones for him. But just the owners having a right old time of it over the past couple of seasons, isn't he?
The QE2, they'll be worried about the ground from there, I think, won't they? Probably. Yeah. Although he certainly does go with a bit of a cushion because of the injury he's had. But the time, I should say to you, is thanks to Rob Lee in the studio, slow by 2.55, Ross. So again, the
ground has been,
it definitely is suggesting there's a little bit of dig underfoot still in the ground there. So do like to turn the taps on it, and they did have that water, of course, on Monday falling from the skies. So look. Will they be watering at the end of the week? We'll see. It's going to get sizzling. Friday, we're looking at temperatures in the 30s, aren't we?
Yeah, because, last year it was officially good ground.
Right.
And they were fast by 2.63.
So there's something weird going on there. We're not sure because the bend alignment is as it normally is. So a little bit of a debrief.
I think one of the things on Mahatha is perhaps stuff like the Breeders' Cup will be on the agenda because, as Ross was saying, not a lot's gone right to him. And I know that horses perhaps don't come into their peak till 4 or 5, but ultimately they're going to have eyes on him as a stallion. So they're going to want to make hay while they can with him, aren't they? So they're going to fire a load of bullets at him, I imagine.
So finally, thank goodness, after all the years in the wilderness since the likes of Frankel, we have a sizzling mile division again, don't we? The 3-year-olds have stepped up. You can't say that Kamiko and Siskin, the 2 Irish Guineas winners, are not in this kind of calibre. The reason why they get the weight for age is because of their physical mentality, of course, and their maturity.
And the big name, with 2 big names that are still missing, Palace Pier and Pinatubo.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking on from Palace Pier, if you take Wichita as a line, you're going to be slightly disappointed there. But he didn't have the trip, did he? Really? And Wichita, he's had quite a few runs now, hasn't he?
And again, a stiffer mile again, like the QE2, something like that might be the ideal race
definitely
for him.
see going there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So look, okay, wow, sizzling Sussex done. The 3:15. We've got one more race to bring you here on RP Live today. The day 2 of Glorious Goodwood at Goodwood, of course. I was going to say Galway. I was thinking Galway. We're going to give you a little preview of the Galway plate as well. 6:45 tonight. We broke the news earlier that Galvin is not there. Our man David Jennings is there. He's gone for early doors in that, but we'll give you our take on that because we know you're going to want to play as the night goes on. Really good jumps card tonight at Galway. It's just one of these great weeks, guys, isn't it? We're so lucky to be here. We'd have bitten your arm off for this during lockdown, but the form's bedded down now. The mile division is finally looking like it's really hotting up. We've definitely got a star in Mahatha. Siskin, do not give up on him. Circus Maximus, I guess they'll be delighted with that run, guys, because it probably isn't his test, is it? Where do we go? So if you're Colin Keane and you're having another hit at Mahatha, Ross Bridie, what do you do? Wait?
Good question. Hope he doesn't turn up.
Well, I suppose so, because even if he did wait there, that finishing berth from Mahatha.
I mean,
it's hard to resist, isn't it?
It would be absolutely fair. I mean, I remember Aidan O'Brien saying once that, given how his horses, he would love top class Group 1 races to be run. Each horse has its own chute, so you don't get problems in running and you just see what is the pure best horse on the day. And it would be fascinating to see if Mahatha started from there and Siskin started from there, energy used at exactly the right point, who will get to the line first. I think
Don't
that
forget
would be interesting.
from August the 1st as well, that £2 differential comes in as well, doesn't it? So,
I was going to say,
that was Siskin's perhaps his big chance, I think. But again, you watch that back and your replays and your members section. He just gets to the front, and I thought this is it. The weights, Mahatha's not had the run. He's maybe Ascot's taken a little bit out of him, but I was a little bit surprised he's finished third. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, the market was really interesting because the market sort of sums that up as well because. Once they jumped, his price come in, and then he was travelling, he was getting a bit shorter because everything was fine. And then when there was a little bit of trouble and he pulled wide, he shortened right up, but then Mahatha came, so he drifted, and then he came back in. So yeah, it was a little bit like back and forth there. He's going to be interesting moving forward, isn't he? Because he was obviously like a top juvenile, really precocious juvenile. He's obviously trained on, we're not talking about that. But as you say, the weight range changes a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how they campaign him from now on. You would say he's a miler. But, I mean, what have we got after?
I suppose you'd be looking at the foray, wouldn't you? We mentioned this, but it's again, what are they going to want? I can't.
You don't want a 7 foot.
I can't really remember Colin Dollar horses going for that race either. I think if it's soft ground over there, that wouldn't really be the race
now
for
to
him.
the QE2 though, in terms of UK
but
and
again, is he going to
races? The Moulin.
As a sprinter last year, he ran on soft ground, didn't he? That wasn't a problem for him. But over the mile, stiffer mile, not 100% sure. So look, we're learning so much still, I guess, about Siskin. Mahatha, we know a great deal more about now. Jim Crowley, we're just watching him being interviewed now. He's still got Batash to come this week as well. There's a huge army that Hamdan Al-Maktoum threw at this. We saw a really promising 2-year-old win the maiden. Could that be another showcasing star for them? Al-Kamate, and they've now got Mahatha as well.
Oh, and we've still got Calusi as well this week as well.
Who turns up on Friday.
And the favourite in the Golden Mile. I know he's drawn wide, but he looks a really progressive handicapper as well.
Montatha?
Yeah, Montatha.
I tell you what, I'm getting these names all of a sudden. That's a massive surprise. The biggest winner of the afternoon for me so far, that's for sure. Shall we move on then? Hard to do it, isn't it? So much to talk about after that Sussex Stakes. We'll still read out your comments from that. If you want to tell us where you think horses will go, was anyone a little bit lucky? Would Kamiko have won with a clear run? Let us know. This is the place, real-time analysis. Hope you are enjoying what you're seeing. We don't know where we're going to go, but we know we're going to the 3:45. It's a fillies conditions race over the 5 furlongs. Back on the sprint course we go. And as if by magic on the screen, Neil Hubbard, here comes the market.
Yeah, Sprite is your favourite at 2.38, so around the 11 to 8 mark. Miss Jingles for Godolphin next at 4.9. Country Carnival 6, Palarkey 9, Furlong Factor 10.5, and the rag is 55. Lady Almathea.
Time to turn on Neil Hubbard, I think, a little bit. So can you say the Mark Johnson horse again there, please, Neil?
Palakai? Palakai?
Palarkey, you called him.
Palakai,
I was like, is that running today or tomorrow or
How would
anywhere?
you pronounce it?
It's got to be Palakai, isn't it? Come on, man.
I thought I said Palakai, didn't
You said Palarkey, didn't he?
I don't know. Play the tape back. Let's play the tape back.
Let's play the
So we're going for
tape.
Palakai. Palakai.
Palakai. I think that's how we say it, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Listen, this morning I did a feature show and everyone was jumping onto me. Furlong Factor, I think I can say that about right.
I think Pele Kai, like Pele, as in, remember
Palakai.
Pele? He was alright, wasn't he?
Quite hard to remember Pele.
I've even forgotten what we said. Palakai.
Palakai. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Certainly not Palarkey. What an old malarkey.
It's actually, it means tortoise.
Let's find I hope he doesn't find quite so much trouble in money. Tom Collins in the paper gives a good mention to Mark Johnson's horse there. They won the race last year. But Neil Hubbard, where were you playing for the final race of the day?
With Palakai.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I found this really tricky. She won on her debut at Newcastle, form that is actually working out okay. I think there's been 4 or 5 winners that have come out of that. She found Royal Ascot happening far too much.
Yeah.
And then York, I can actually forgive any horse a bad run at York. I mean, I do think it's one of those tracks that is
especially a Johnson horse.
Yeah, a horses for courses track as well. And she was just hands and heels. She wasn't really asked a question once. Country Carnival, Furlong Factor and Sardinian Sunset swept past us. So in a race that is very much one for small stakes here for me, I'm going to back her just in the win market. She's 9.8, which is around the 9 to 1 mark. So I'm just going to have £20 win on her. So just a simple back-only bet at 10s, which is 9-1, £20 on Pelikai. For the Mark Johnson stable, who we all know what his runners are like here. But yeah, small stakes, not a wonderfully strong fancy, I must admit.
Now, you have got a strong fancy in this, Ross Brierley.
I just really liked this Sprite last time out. I thought it was a bit of a weird race. There was a big delay to begin with. He had to withdraw a horse because it got upset in the stalls, and there was every reason why that could have rustled up a few of the runners. But Sprite looked a bit of a monster, really. Ran a blinder on debut at Doncaster behind an experienced and heavily backed favourite. Just sat on the speed and just kept going and going and going. That was over 6, so you're gonna have to do a slightly different thing. But there's plenty of early pace about her. My only concern is that there might, Pelikai tried to make the run in last time out.
Like those two is probably the pace angles in, aren't they? They might take each other on and set this up.
Now, this reminds us of our final race on the day yesterday, Neil Hubbard, when we were looking at all of these sprinters. We thought there would be, there was a field of 9 or whatever, we thought 7 of them would try and lead, but some horses were dropping back from 6 furlongs. It's very different trying to lead a 6 furlong race than it is a 5 furlong race because he's outs and out speed burners. Now,
sort of like Army of India in the race we saw before, 6 dropping back to 5.
There's only 6 runners, but they're surely going to make a slight beeline for this rail, aren't they? So it's going to be who bags it. So is Sprite going to have the toe, is my question, Ross Brierley, to lead Pelikai to the rail?
Possibly not, but she didn't. Whether she has to lead or whether she just
we don't really know.
Took full advantage because again, York. There was a lot of sprints at York at that meeting. And at the other day as well, where Sylvester de Souza, for example, won a couple, gunning them from the front. Julie Johnston for the Mark Johnson.
It's very interesting they're coming here just 10 days after that win, isn't there? Because you mentioned York, they could have waited for some target there a little bit later on. Plenty of targets for her over the 6, isn't there? They could have given her a breather, but this is worth 15 grand, so not a price to sniff at. But I don't know, they could have taken their time a bit more with it, couldn't they?
They could, yeah, but last year's winner, Mrs. Bouquet, came from a winning at York to here, admittedly over 5. I think she won the race that Julie Johnston won, again for the Mark Johnson team. So, and we've already seen the 2-year-old race today, the Molecombe, won by a horse who ran 7 days ago. So, bearing in mind this is it's been a weird season as well. It's been especially for the 2-year-olds. By this time, you've normally got it's a completely different book of runs for the juveniles. So, I wonder whether we're seeing I hate to use this phrase given the current scenario, but a second wave of juveniles that are coming through.
Happy days. Okay, so look, she's been really, really heavily backed. The one against her in the market, I tentatively put it up on the feature I did this morning, Miss Jingles for Godolphin and William Buick. Not often the sort of horse, is it, that you really associate with these sort of races. I was pretty impressed with her at Sandown when she won.
Yeah, she didn't have much in hand at the line, did she? But she won it, fair and square. It's not like she was lucky or anything in it. She showed plenty of speed there, and this sort of test you would think would suit. I mean,
she had a great attitude that day. That's what I really liked about her. And I wrote that race up for the analysis section of the paper, and I found myself going modest race to start with. I deleted it, which you often do, as if you're in focus, to give you a little preamble about the race. And I went, I think actually there's going to be quite a few winners coming out of this. And again, she looked like she might be wanting to go back up to 6. So the fact that they're going there, was that still a little bit of greenness? If it was, you don't want to be eyeballing her, I don't think, in the final furlong. She's definitely got a real cracking attitude about her.
Yeah, it's interesting, just very quickly, just back on Sprite here in terms of why they're running here. Just looking at it, because she could have ran in the Molecombe, obviously, getting the allowance, the fillies allowance. But actually, there's only like 6-7 grand's worth of prize difference there. And this is definitely, and I know that's not a sum of money to be sniffed at, but this is definitely an easier task than the Molecombe, and it might turn out to be a pretty smart bit of placing. If he did want to drop back to 5 furlongs, then it might turn out to be a cute bit of placing.
Carl Burke had significantly, of course, for that race as well. That might have swayed him this way, I suppose, gone right, and was well fancied as well. A lot of the sales races have entries already, actually, so maybe she wasn't in that one at York. The 6 furlongs were usually quite valuable each year. What about Country Carnival? Because ran against Pelikai, came up 1 place in top. I thought this might also another potential pace angle. James Doyle, David O'Mara, Hambledon Racing, having a really good year with their 2-year-olds in particular, and has got the 6 poke.
Yeah, and again, possibly pace. I mean, she paid again for taking on Pelikai at York, so there is a potential that she's a little bit better than that. Form definitely needs improvement, but again, it's not necessarily out of the question. It is a fiddly little race, but the market is consistently strong about. I mean, Sprite was, I think, might have been 5-2 at some point when when prices first opened about this race. Certainly a significantly bigger price than she is now.
It's been matched at the high of 4.2, so that's 3-1, and now she's really solid at 5-4. So a not insignificant market move. I actually found it a little bit like going back to Country Carnival and Furlong Factor. I actually found it pretty difficult to split the two of them, really, based on York Run and all of that. Probably would have liked to have seen maybe a bit more from Sardinia Sunset and the Molecomb, maybe.
Yeah, Ben Curtis rides Furlong Factor for Rob Millman. Always gets a good 2-year-old or couple every year, doesn't he, Ron? And for the Nick Bradley racing, you've got Dandala and Fevrover, of course, two fillies.
So I just say at the prices, probably side with Furlong Factor, who's 2 or 3 times the price.
And you have to imagine that Ben, having ridden significantly in the Molecomb Stall 1, finds himself again in the 1 box. He's going to probably try and drop in and hope they go really, really hard.
Try something different.
Come back to him somewhat. So Furlong Factor, although quite easy in the market. We've got a newcomer to mention here. Lady Amalthea. Lady Amalthea, Ross Brierley, a word?
Well, why not, I guess. I mean, we've seen Gay Kellaway's and Jane Chapel-Hyam are trainers who often do this. She's bred to be very, very speedy as a 2-year-old. And, you can learn a hell of a lot from this debut. It is asking a lot. But, I mean, surely they'll be running on for a place to get a lot of experience. And where's the prize money go down to?
6th.
So she's getting paid whatever.
Yeah. So nice bit of place. I mean, like you would perhaps normally think it's a day out for the owners or whatnot, to have a run like this. But obviously that's not the case, and she's owned by the trainer anyway.
Well, 2 of them can go.
So if it's owned by the trainer, it is a day out for the owners.
Yeah, that is,
Yeah, exactly. So listen, look, we have to give the Rags a mention because we know what happens. The Rags go well. So look, good luck wherever you're going in the finale here. They're just ambling around behind the boxes. Palakai getting a little bit worked up from what I can see there, but she's back okay now. Miss Jingles is in. Looks like Furlong Factor is in as well.
Do you want me to call in this?
Over to you for this one. So you've got 5 furlongs to throw to me and Neil 3 times during the race.
Absolutely. All right.
So look, we're having some fun here. Let's hope you are as well. Let's go out on a high here on RP Live. We've still got 3 more days after this to go. Thursday, Stevie Donahoe, current riding, just happened to win a John Smith's Cup. He comes and joins myself, Neil, tomorrow. On Friday, we've got Bruce Millington and Paul Keeley making his debut as well on the show. Loads to come. So many more narratives, so many more winning angles, hopefully for you out there. Get your socials in before the end. We'll be talking about the Galway Plate briefly after this as well. Enjoy it. I'm going to hand you over to Ross Brierley to call the Fillies Conditions race 3:45 at Qatar Goodwood.
All right, here we go. The British Stallion Studs Alice Keppel EBF Fillies Condition Stakes over 5 furlongs. We've got 4 of them in so far. Lady Amalthea yet to go in and showing her inexperience here. And don't you just love it when a presenter throws over to the commentator when there's still 2 horses left to go in. I've never been on the receiving end of it, but normally it's the other way.
For everything, old boy.
Normally it's the other way.
Sprite is the last one out the back of the boxes.
Sprite really strong at the head of the market now, 2.16, so into 6-5. And as we said, she has been better at 3-1 here, so 6-5. That's a really
to go in, boys. I've got to
Mm-hmm.
say that she's had warm as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she's obviously travelled a hell of a long way for this. She's seen her a stablemate disappoint earlier on. And she'll be hoping to land the spoils after that win at York. But she's just being a bit reluctant.
Oh.
She's backed out again. She's turned sideways onto the stall. So we've got 5 of them in. We're still waiting for Sprite to go in, Carl Burke and Clifford Lee.
Yeah, the market isn't taking that much of a dim view of this at all. She's still really solid at the top of the market. There's no drift there yet.
She went down to the start with a big red hood on. To settle her, and obviously they've taken that off down at the start. So obviously she must be a bit of a flighty customer.
I've seen this a lot, according to Tony Ellis, who was in the studio yesterday. He's been on Track Lows. He says we're not quite seeing this since racing resumption. They're allowed to go on in the preliminaries with the hood to calm them down. So we're seeing it a great deal. Trainers
She's now getting a little bit weak in the market now, out to 2.24.
Does that mean Miss Jingles is hardening up slightly? Then she went all the way out to 4-1, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she is that now, 5.1. It's actually probably Country Carnival, 5.7.
She's in. Like magic, she's in. Ross Brierley.
She's in. 6 of them to race here for the Fillies Conditions race, and they're off and racing. Nice level break, although down the outside Furlong Factor a little bit slow to go, and it's Miss Jingles who takes them along down this fence with Country Carnival, Pelakai, Sprite down the outside as well, and the newcomer Lady Amalthea as Pelakai and Sprite take it to the front.
Sprite odds on.
And Sprite has gone odds on in the run. They're not going too quick here though.
They're
Mr.
not.
Orton.
Miss Jingles I'd be quite happy with, but Sprite isn't nice. It just depends whether Pelakai presses the button soon. The only one that's out of it is the newcomer.
Sprite travelling incredibly well out in front. Pelakai starting to go through the gears now as as well. Miss Jingle's struggling. Lady Amalthea really struggling out the back, and Furlong Factory is not having a going day whatsoever. Sprite, though, stays 6 furlongs and is now going through the gears. Switched out is Country Carnival and Miss Jingle. Sprite at early energy is not going well whatsoever. Country Carnival and Miss Jingle's down the centre. It's Country Carnival and Miss Jingle's battling it out. Sprite not doing a lot. That back in third down the centre of the track. Miss Jingle's getting up under William Buick. Miss Jingle's throwing it down to Country Carnival. Miss Jingles and Country Carnival always up to the line. Miss Jingles beats Country Carnival by a neck, and there's a long gap back to Sprite back in third.
Thank you, Ross Brierley. A fine job
Sterling
indeed. You
effort,
can come back, Mr. Brierley. I tell you what, Mahatha, and now a top commentator as well in the making. That was a really interesting race, guys, because halfway you thought they were right scrubbing along in behind. And did they go too hard, Neil Hubbard? Story of the race.
Yeah, so Sprite hit a low of 1.61 in running, so you can definitely see why that was. Country Carnival hit 1.07 in running, but the winner...
Country Carnival hit what, sorry?
Country Carnival 1.07.
Oh, right, wow.
1.07.
Well, she definitely looked like she might have the measure because William Buick's had to go right round the houses, having taken an inside fit. In fact, Miss Jingle started on the fence, allowed Pelican and Sprite to have that position, went for the box seat, then had to go right round.
107 though.
Do you
But
think
Miss
that's-
Jingle...
Well, I mean, they are head-to-head, Ross. I mean, they're pretty...
Miss Jingles, because of that move, was matched for very small amounts at 350.
Wow.
And for proper pounds, shall we say, 180.
Whoa.
So a 1.61 bust, a 1.07 bust as well.
Yeah, so I tell you what, Country Carnival up to 6 furlongs, just couldn't go the early pace whatsoever. To get to the front like that has taken a big effort for James Doyle. David O'Mara's got a nice filly there. And Miss Jingles, hopefully I said beforehand, she showed what she showed at Sandon. She has got a great attitude, this filly, you know.
Yeah, a couple of things to mention. One, we were talking about that, again, she's in the perfect position. She's sat in behind the pace in that perfect bubble. I know she had to switch out wide to challenge, but the first 3 furlongs of the race, she's getting a lovely toe into it. And if anything, the only region she challenges for that out wide is because James Doyle barges the horse out of the way, trying to get him run for Country
She looks
Carnival.
like she wants to go 6, doesn't she? And again, I said it's not hard to see why on debut why she went 6. They've stuck the tongue tie on her. She obviously had a few problems with the breathing, but are we looking at the Cornwallis winner here? I mean, at Newmarket a little bit later on, it's absolutely perfect.
She'd have a squeak, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was going to say, if you want to go 6, you could go to the Lowther, I guess, but that might be
That's not a bad shout. The York Seaboard meeting, we're covering that here on RP Live.
Interesting to see how the time measures up against the Molecombe. I know the weights carried won't be exactly, but you'll get some sort of a guide there.
And they didn't hang around, did they?
Just interesting, Dave. I know yesterday we were talking when Tony was in about the type of track that Goodwood is in terms of betting in running, and do you get a load of like freak results or do you get some weird results? Today alone, you've had a 1.16 beat, a 1.16 beat, a 1.41 beat, a 1.95 beat, a 1.61 beat, and a 1.07 beat. So in every race, pretty much, there's been horses at odds on that have been turned over. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably about 7 odds on shots in running have been beaten today at Goodwood.
I think the message there is calm yourself until the final furlong and a half, because a lot of horses. How many horses have we seen today? I'd say at least. There's a large percentage of horses, that handicap earlier and the Sussex, where you could have said 4 or 5 were in with a genuine winning chance.
And that sort of backs up the angle we played with significantly, not only because of the nature of the track, but because of his sort of profile as a horse. Now, it didn't work out that way. It didn't get matched, fair enough. But the general vibe around that sort of approach to a meeting like this, there's certainly merit in it from the numbers.
There we are then. Just when you thought things couldn't get any more interesting, we've had another fascinating little event. Ross Brierley?
Just a quick word. Miss Jingles finished 6th first time out in a race with a horse called Isle of May in it, who then went to Ascot the other day, ran behind, I think she was called...
Clive Cox's horse.
Isle of May was... Hang on, let me just get this up. Hang on, I've confused myself.
Where are you
here.
going with this?
Where am I going here? Miss Jingles, debut.
Yeah.
There we go.
6
Newmarket,
furlongs.
beaten by She's So Nice. The second was a horse called Isle of May, who went next time out to Ascot, got beaten favourite by a horse called Zabeel Queen. But the speed figure of that was out of this world. So I think that those form lines are starting to work out nicely. So there's a couple of really nice 2-year-old fillies who could meet up in some good races.
We're bedding down the form for the season now. Goodwood is usually where it starts happening. The 3-year-olds taking on the old horses. My goodness, have you recovered yet after Mohatha's ran down Siskin and Circus Maximus? And we've just seen a really speedy filly there for Godolphin that will probably go on and land a group race a little bit later on. It's been a great day, hasn't it? But there's still more to come this evening if you're looking at Galway. All available on Betfair, of course, to be trading. Loads of liquidity there. Let's have a little look at the Galway plate then, chaps. We suggested that we might give a little preview for this. It's worth 200 grand, 118,000 euros to be precise. Usually worth, around about 100,000 more, but not in this current climate. That's a serious prize, isn't it? Galvin out of the race. Willie Mullins not got the record you want in this. We were looking at it earlier. I clicked on my Race War Interactive to see the previous history that he's got. He's had 33 runners in the last 10 years. 10 have placed and the one winner, Blazing Tempo. Do you remember the mare? In the Rich Ritchie colours that came and won. Of course, he's pretty much dominating the market. Royal Rendezvous at the minute is around about 4-1. Neil, have you got the market for us? Can we get it on screen so we can have a little look and dissect and get a selection from each of us on the screen?
Yeah, so Royal Rendezvous is your favourite now that Galvin is out. So he's 5.9 at the head of the market. Then a bit of a gap, actually. Early Doors, 9.2. Easy Game, 10. Spyglass Hill, 11.5. Peregrine Run, who's got to have probably a decent chance here at a nice price, 17. Three Musketeers, that used to be...
Dan Skelton.
Dan Skelton, yeah 17. Wide open as you'd expect. Storytellers in there at 20-1 currently.
Well, take the floor then, Neil. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to look right down the very bottom of the market here. So what price are we going to take a flyer at? 32 on Winter Escape.
Oh, ex-Alan King.
Former Alan King. He was 5th in a county hurdle, so he's obviously got plenty of back class.
Is he with Anthony Howard now?
Yes, he is. Yeah. He is with Anthony Howard. He had one run for Alan King over fences before going to Ireland, which is where he's seemed to, is where he's had his chasing career, shall we say. And he seemed to improve a bit. He beat A Plutard in a Grade 3, and then he was 6th in a Troy Town, one of their big handicaps over there. He then rather randomly was transferred to Ben Haslam, where he had 2 runs over around 2 miles, one in a hood. Didn't show anything, and now he's gone back to Anthony Howard, and this is his first run back. But what those 2 runs for Ben Haslam, what he did benefit from is a £10 lower handicap mark. Okay. So he's had 2 runs over an inadequate trip over here. He's gone back over to Ireland. He's £10 lower than his Troy Town run when he was 6th. It just screams a little bit of a, I wouldn't say plot because this is a Galway plate, so you need to have. I don't think you can really get away necessarily with that. You need to show your hand a little bit. But he's ridden by the same jockey who rode him in the Troy Town. He won his maiden chase here, so he's been around the track before. Yeah. He's 32s on the exchange. Little each way bet there for me.
Don't mind him at Manor 4th strings, do we?
Yeah, the red cap.
JP's last win in the race was 2013, the Great Carlingford Laugh as a 7-year-old. Ross Brierley, you've got one?
I've been keep watching Early Doors pretty much for about 18 months, I think, waiting for this horse to pop up in a
David
decent
Jennings
race.
Is very keen on this horse as well.
The second behind Yaha Fizz at Punchestown, 2 miles, novice chase, never put in the race until late on. Ran on into second. Yeah. I'm suggesting they were waiting for a handicap mark. But that's the gate. That's how it goes.
He's finished second at the track on his chasing debut. Yeah. He's gone and won the Martin Pipe at the festival. He can do it in big
off a
fields.
mark of 1:45, he's got a chase mark of 1:39. They've given a hurdles run to prep him in a warm race as well at Tipperary, and that was a
cheap
very
pieces.
Why not? Whatever he needs to perk him up. Do you think that's a negative?
Well, I think it's interesting. You know, I don't know. It's a perhaps slightly detracting figure, isn't it? He might perk up for it, of course.
Handicap chase debut again. He's been a big eye catcher in some really warm races.
He fits a lot of trends as well, doesn't he? 7-year-old under 140. I like Spyglass Hill talking to 7-year-olds. But Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore, who won 6 Grade 1s, can you believe that, last season? She's absolutely mustard. She will do for me. If there's a little bit of juice in the ground, I think he's on his supposed as a stayer. So there are 3 against the field for you in the Galway plate. A little bit later on, 6:45. Set your alarms for that. It's a really good jumps card actually at Galway. We love our compadres over there. Dave Jennings giving you all the moves, and no Galvin. So the market has reacted big time. Look for your members club to see the story of the race tomorrow if you're not going to be able to watch it and having a bet or whatever. I can't wait to see Colin Keane's comments. Can't wait to see Jim Crowley's comments or the Race to Post comments. You can get them all, of course, in your members club. That was, before we sign off, Ross, if you're going to come in for one day this week.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to watch one race this week, then that's the one you would have picked. It looked fantastic on paper. It was fascinating tactically, and every single furlong of that race had something of interest. So genuine Group 1 form. The first 4 home brought absolutely rock solid trial. Group 1, everything was set up for a perfect race, and it unfolded that way. And that's what you want from a feature race at a feature festival.
Yeah, fantastic. Ross, thank you very much for coming
You're
back
welcome.
down. You're buying the champagne afterwards. Neil Hubbard, back out of your Betfair cupboard. Here you are. We've still got another 3 days to go. Neil, highlight of the day. Maybe look away from Mahatha.
Highlight of the day. What should we say? I thought Mambo Knights was pretty good in that handicap that we flagged up as something to keep an eye on to follow through the season. Well, I would say from Goodwood so far, there's been 2 races. The highlight, should we say, in terms of status of race, we've had the Goodwood Cup and we've had the Sussex Stakes. And so often you sort of build yourself up for these, really look forward to them, and sometimes they don't quite deliver. On both occasions, both races have delivered exactly what we wanted to see. It's been great so far.
We've got a red-hot Nassau Stakes coming your way tomorrow. Neil and myself will be back for that. Don't forget to leave your comments in for the guys. We love the feedback. Thanks for giving the socials. Thanks for being with us on the way. Really, honestly, had some touching tributes so far. It's not even half time. It's Glorious Goodwood. I'm Dave Orton. Till tomorrow.